no fancy frills or introductions today. We got, literally this evening is when we set up for our big 3-day market. So, no pressure at all. But I have a few things I need to finish. I made a bunch of potion bottle dice bags, and I need to make a couple more cork toppers for them. So, one way I know I can make myself focus, these cork toppers are honestly a very, very boring project. They're simple and there's not a whole lot to them. So I don't really enjoy making them as much as I like making the potion bottles, but like making the stoppers is not as much fun. So this is more necessity. I can't put them out to market. They don't have tops on them, so let me notice how my thing somehow got knotted up even though I just pulled it out straight from the screen. How does yarn even do that? Like, look, it's got like a knot and I just pulled it out. How did that even... Anyway, so I gotta make 3 cork toppers, so that's probably, it's gonna not be a very chatty stream probably, unless someone, you know, starts chatting with me in the chat. If people start chatting with me in the chat and asking questions, then of course I can't help myself and we'll talk extensively. But otherwise, probably gonna be a pretty quiet sort of ASMR sort of crochet this morning. So I'm really just doing this because when I have to do it in front of people, it helps me focus because then I feel like I have to be working. I guess it's like mirroring in a way. So I'm going to work on these corks, and when I have all 3 of them done, depending on how long it's been at that point, that'll probably be the end of the stream. But we're going to be gone for the next 3 days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's going to be fun. It's going to be probably exhausting. My sister keeps speaking to me about it's going to be, you know, a cool time and go meet geeks, and I do admit it's nice to see people, you know, but I'm always... Social events can be a lot for me, as a person with the tisms. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, I'm a little nervous, but stuff's gotta get done, stuff's gotta get made, so I'm here right now to do that, however long that takes. Shouldn't hopefully be too terribly long. These corks don't necessarily take long to make, they just... It's kind of just a mindless thing to do, and it's not terribly a lot of fun. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because it's a small thing, and it has a lot of in and out, back loop, forward loop sort of vibes. So... I'm just gonna have a quiet crochet and stream sort of thing. Really just getting it in here to show that I'm still here because I'm not going to be here the next 3 days from both market, and even if I was home, I'd probably be so socially burnt out that I would not have the energy to do anything else, so reasonably might not be another stream until maybe Monday evening. Because Monday is also when I start my new part of my job. I'll be doing I work as a sub in the preschool, and I'm moving up to working once a week as what they call a floater. So kind of someone who just does like office stuff. I'll be doing that on Mondays. So I'm going to be moving up to that part of my job. So again, other things to be excited / nervous about. But it means I won't be able to do morning streams probably most days of the week. So probably morning streams will be relegated to like Wednesday and Friday maybe. Just, you know, what it is. Gotta try new business opportunities, right? It's so fun trying to, like, you know, being real. You know, how many creatives of my generations at this point are, like, at that point where you're working, like, 3 different jobs just to try and figure out what you like. So I nanny, and I preschool. I'm also trying to go to school myself, scary as that is, while also making so little money that I can still apply for Medicare. Funny world we live in. So it's kind of my opportunity to okay, let me put this under there. I'm also trying to figure out what's the best like crochet position to sit in. Like I've seen some of those cushions that you have that are just like, come on, they're supposed to help with like your back support, arm support, and stuff like that. Okay. It's the other reason I don't really care working with 4 yarn. Is that this, at least that this particular brand, not this brand, I guess both the brands I have, they fuzz easily, so I have to be careful not to catch them and snag them with my hook, which isn't a problem with the other yarns. The problem with the other yarns is just they shed. But like once you get past the magic ring, they usually are not too difficult to work with. You don't have to worry about like trying to pull through multiple hoops, and you're gonna, like I'm trying to do now, and you're catching like stray threads and stuff like that and fuzz, and it's harder to pull through the circles. So yes, I prefer working with the higher weight yarn than 4, but this pattern calls for 4 weight yarn, which is why I'm here doing this. So I don't like making these cork toppers, but it's gotta be done so I can sell those potion bottles. That's one of the things I do kind of enjoy doing. Is I play D&D, so I found my friend bought me this potion bag pattern so that I can make dice bags that are in the shape of potion bottles. And they're pretty cute. Hoping they'll sell. I guess that is kind of the name of the game of everything I make, is that it's always kind of like, I think this is great. Certainly hope everyone else does. My arms are definitely getting tired, though, from essentially crocheting non-stop the last several days. That's why I haven't really been doing, like, we're called the Cozy Gamers. But I haven't been doing a ton of gaming lately because I have to do a market prep, so I have to crochet a lot of stuff for this market that we paid a ridiculous amount of money to get the table for. It's not terribly bad, but it's still a lot. It's more than we've ever spent on a table before. So I will get back to gaming eventually. This is the Cozy Gaming channel. For now, the best I can do is just be here, even if I'm crocheting and stuff like that. At least I'm still being live to come and talk to people. I don't know, maybe some people enjoy watching crochet, even though I'm sure our name is a bit of a misnomer. Which maybe I'll change it at some point, but people barely know us as Cozy Gamers, so probably shouldn't change the branding too soon. Sometimes you're like, I don't want Christmas break to be over, because then you have to go back in and remember that reality is hard and adult life is hard. When you're here like this, you can just be like, all that matters is getting ready for this. Hey, I'm making cork stoppers. Because I got a number of potion bottles done, but three of them don't have corks yet, so I can't really sell them without their tops. So it's my least favorite part of the pattern, but it's got to be done. If I at least put myself on camera, then I'm a little bit more compelled to do it. Yeah, we're all doing the market prep. And after this is done, I have to go help Madeline wash her hair because she's, lacking one hand right now. Just fun. So she only has really effective use of her right hand at the moment, so I'll have to help her with that after I'm done with this. It's a fun time. Of course, it also happens like right before our market is when she's got to go to the emergency room, of course. Because that's how our life rolls. It's why we can't schedule things. It's why we can't, we never try and plan things out. I don't know if she's mentioned it yet. She mentioned it yesterday on our stream yesterday when I was crocheting and she was blind box opening. Our dogs were fighting again. And so Mally didn't try to separate them. She actually was trying to walk away to get help. And one of them, we don't even know which one, just came from behind and grabbed and like tugged her hand. So she has like puncture mark here, like slash kind of on the palm. So she didn't need stitches, but you know, it obviously hurts a lot and it's you bled a lot. So it was definitely a little bit of a crazy situation again. So, you know, they took her to the emergency room just to make sure that everything was good. They got her a tetanus shot and stuff like that, and some, like, you know, heavier antibiotics. And right now she just has to keep it wrapped up and stuff. The biggest thing is that her pinky's, like, super swollen, so she probably sprained it. They said she didn't break it, but it, like, hurts to move it, so she's, like, probably sprained her pinky, too. It's super puffed up, so it's definitely, like, bruised of some sort. So she can't really very effectively use her left hand at the moment, so two-handed activities are not easy. Hence why I'm probably going to have to go help her wash her hair after we're done here. Yeah. This is just the way our life goes. You know, Matt and I were talking about it the other day for this market, being like, you know, back when we signed up in August, it seemed so achievable. Because we're like, we have so much time to get ready. We have so much time to make products. You know, like, we'll have plenty of time to build up stuff until then. And then, you know, like, her work dramas has been going on since October. You know, marching band obviously was something I planned for, but, you know, still took up time, even though I was aware that I was not going to be very busy during that time. And then just, you know, subs, health things, the dogs keep fighting each other, you know, all these things just keep wearing you and wearing you and wearing you down, and next thing you know, like, you know, January's 2 days away, and you're like, how did we get so little done? And we do have a good amount of stuff, I still think, you know, like, I feel like we have enough for, like, 1 or maybe 2 days, so I'm kind of like, I'm concerned, you know, that we're gonna run out of stuff. But that's more of my stuff. Madeline has so many paintings made, we're not gonna run out of those. We have, like, over 40 of those, so we have more than enough paintings. I just feel like I admittedly have not been working as hard as I should have been for, like, crocheting stuff, because also I had an order I was trying to fill, so, you know, I was, yeah, doing that order instead of working on stuff, and I had to do a couple Christmas orders I had on the docket, like, you know, someone who in the preschool had ordered something from me months ago, and, like, you know, so I was doing a lot of, you know, orders instead of market prep, so, time management. Running out would be a good problem. Yeah, it would. That's why I'm like, I wouldn't take offense at running out. It's just, you know, I'll probably be fine once we actually get there, but until then, I'm just got my anxiety knocking on my door constantly, being like, hey, do you want to freak out about this right now? And I'm like, no, not really. You know, I have so much other things to freak out right now, I'd rather not. And it's like, right, but you're sure? You don't want to worry about this a little bit more? And I'm just kind of like, oh. I mean, I could, but I don't want to. Like, I originally planned to have, like, a whole rainbow assortment for my potion bottles. But then I stopped making those because I realized I had, like, no Freddies. And those ones definitely sell more. So I'm like, I gotta get working on those. And so that's why I'm coming back to it, being like, oh, I never made corks for the top of those potion bottles. So even if I'm not making any more, I only have 3 of them with corks. I have 6 total, so I need to make 3 more corks. So that I can make them. So they can be sold. But, And not to mention, I have a couple of, like, larger products I made. To be fair, I mean, I did really pump out one yesterday. I got this pattern from a club I'm in, or Patreon club, which I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep it in. It's kind of expensive. It's $10 a month. And I really like the patterns. But I'm also kind of being like, I know how much longer I'm going to do that. But I did get a really cute Godzilla pattern. I showed him on stream yesterday, because I was working on him yesterday on yesterday's crochet chat. And he is cute. I tried to do the pattern, for some reason it came out crooked. So that bothered me, but all my family's like, but it's so adorable. I'm like, well, that's the time when I have to just accept them, like, okay, I'll trust that they say that, because, you know, no one's going to be more critical about art than the artist itself. So I'm like, I just have to trust them being like, it's so cute, someone's going to love it. I'm like, okay, I'll take your word for it. It probably is very cute. And the thing that has been helping is that, like, I've been crocheting and my mom's been sewing the parts on, because that is something that does take me a little while whenever I make these things. I can crochet pretty automatically. Like, I can hold on. I think I've proved on stream several times at this point that I can crochet pretty well and maintain, like, solid conversation. But sewing just takes a little bit more precision, and it just takes a little longer. So, like, I will go and make the parts and then pin them on, and then my mom comes back and, like, sews them on, which I really appreciate. That definitely has sped up production. And to be fair, like Malin says, I need to keep myself some slack. I've made a new plushie every single day for the last week, at least. At least since we hit Christmas break. So I have been making a good amount. It's just, like, one of them I ran out of yarn for the color I needed, so I have, like, half of plushie stored in a backpack somewhere. There's a couple of big ones that I tried to make that I was just like, these are not working. And I have the wrong amount of stitches here, so something went wrong along the way. Whatever, I'll count in a minute. So, that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, it feels slow. To me, it feels like I'm not making enough, because I can only reasonably work on one thing at a time. But everyone else tells me, like, oh my gosh, you're making them so fast. So I'm like, well, yeah, I know. That's me trying to just get the voices in my head to quiet, you know? That's the other thing. I'm supposed to be taking medication for this. I'm like, I don't think it's doing anything. I feel kind of just as unsettled as usual. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12. Well, I have 12, so I don't know how I ended up on an uneven count. Maybe I just did one at the wrong time. Okay, well, it's 12. So yeah, I get that I probably am doing, you know, everything I need to do. And I just need to cut myself some slack. I get that. It's just, you know, running up to this, I'm like, and sometimes it just, you know, brain does not work. Huh.
I was wondering how you're doing with Ellie drumming next door very openly and loudly.
It's actually the vacuum cleaner. I can hear more clearly. Meredith says hi, and she's sorry about your hand.
Hi. Hand reveal.
Yeah, it's actually her pinky that, like, is the worst. It got, like, sprained or something because she can barely move it.
And I'm not gonna lie, it looks a little bit infected. So, and then this is bleeding. And this is bleeding. So, luckily I'm right-handed, but...
Yeah, thankfully it was her left hand.
Your band check. Ooh, ooh. My hair's so dirty. And
I did close the door so the drum and the vacuum are harder to hear. So
it's very easy for us to hear.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
The pleasures of living in a shared household. I honestly don't mind most of the time, though. You kind of... Again, I've lived with people all my life. I've shared a room with my sister all my life, so actually living alone can be more unsettling to me than not living in a chaotic household. I don't like everyone being home and making noise, but having 1 or 2 people in the house calms me more than being completely alone for, like, days on end. Because I'm used to a chaotic, like, situation. But yeah. I closed the door so that we can't hear Elliot as well. It's the biggest things that my dad kind of, I think, woke up a bit anxious this morning because he's been vacuuming a lot. So usually we can tell that he has a lot of, like, ADHD energy just going this morning. And he's asking me about, like, did you ever hear back from the insurance lady? I'm like, nope, and that's not a problem to solve today because this is my last day to work on stuff before we do this market. After that, more than happy to do that. Same thing with, like, you know, My mom's like, you know, we need to look at your Liberty classes. I'm like, yep, I agree. Let's get back to this market, and then I'd be happy to go and look at it.
Look at what?
Well, Liberty classes. I haven't signed up for the next semester.
Oh, yeah.
But how can I stress about that when I'm too busy stressing about this? I just don't have enough stress points. I certainly don't want to cash in more, so, you know.
So much stress.
That's my huge embarrassment because of me not being the neurotypical adult. I completely screwed up one of my classes in the fall, and it was a seriously just big emotional and like mental blow to me that it's kind of made me, again, be questioning, should I keep going? Can I actually do this graduate program thing while I'm trying to have like 4 other jobs? I'm trying to actually enjoy my life, you know, enjoy making something. Like, you know how long it's been since I drew anything? You know how long it's been since I wrote anything? And so, like, it's been a hard fall. It's been a hard fall. The biggest things that I like do is that, like, you know, the most writing I have done, and I guess in some ways a blessing, some ways a curse, because it is emotionally draining on me, but if it wasn't for D&D, I probably wouldn't have written anything this fall at all. That's the only stuff I've been writing lately, is notes and story ideas, which I do enjoy because that does give me some human interaction, and it makes me feel like I have control over at least a world for a couple hours. 3 and an increase, alright. So, I do appreciate that. My campaign is, they're probably going to fight a dragon soon, so see how that goes. But, you know, it's just managing one thing over the other, and then you're like, at the end of the day, you're just like, man, am I ever gonna not be tired? Like, my sleep schedule, I used to be very good about exercising my sleep schedule, and it's just kind of fallen to pieces since October. I'm not really sure how or why or when it got that bad, but we're like, I need to get back to falling asleep the right hour, not at 2 a.m. every night. Really just can't do that anymore. I'm too old for it. You know. There's the brief time where I got credit cards scammed. That was great. Thankfully, it wasn't a very large amount, but still annoying. Yes. Stuff that's been happening. The things that have kept me, like, afloat this fall has literally been, like, to some extent D&D. Because, again, that's a kind of a thing that I kind of can push myself to do. Because I know that other people are depending on me. When someone else is depending on me, I got a lot more stamina. But, like, nannying has been good because at least that's the steadiest income I've had in years. And I do it twice a week.
I was gonna say, nannying just pays well, dude.
It does.
Like you can say as a previous nanny. Nannying is a lifestyle, dog.
Well,
It really does pay well.
I enjoy caring and teaching people, and it's those sort of professions don't pay. So it's nice to have one where I can actually like care for a small human and not make, you know, $8 a day.
That's what Elliot was talking about, like tipping waitress when we were at a restaurant yesterday.
50.
And he was like, "Well, they make a living wage. They don't need tips." I was like, "They make $7.25." He's like, "Yeah, that's a living wage." I was like, "Well, Elliot, as
You ever
someone
try to
who
live
makes
off
10
of that?
versus you, someone who makes none but uses money and lets you have a full-time job." I was like, from someone who makes 10, I can tell you $7.25 is not enough.
Mm-mm.
It's just
You know how many hours a day you have to do to break even?
I was gonna say, just people who act like they know everything, but truly,
Elliot
I
drives.
don't know everything. But
Elliot does
they
drive.
don't even know as much as me.
Elliot does drive me nuts sometimes because in one hand he'll go and be like, you know, like he has it all figured out, and that's just I know him being younger, but it does frustrate.
He just went and applied for a job at Harris Teeter in Cameron Village. Dog, that's half an hour from here.
We have been asking that question since he was 17, so.
Why is he like this? I don't know. He freaking drives me. And he's all, after Freya and Piper had their little scuffle with my hand.
Yeah, we don't know for sure, but it heavily leans toward it probably was Freya.
I'm very suspicious to who it might be. But after they had their little fun pool tug time with good old Lefty here.
No, Lefty's downstairs.
That's true. He was all, I'll take one then. I'll take her upstairs and I'll put her in our isolated in my room. And we're like, no, Elliot, that's actually the problem that started this mess.
If we had raised them all together, we wouldn't have this problem.
She's a reactive dog naturally. And on top of that, she hasn't been properly socialized or trained with special reactive dog training. Her breed is just a very reactive breed. So you know, like shepherds and stuff. Like German shepherds are a very
usually the ones you use for
dog.
For like
these working dogs that need to be specially trained. She's obviously got much stronger genes than the other two because when she reacts to something, it's like she's possessed by a demon, dude. Like, there is no getting through to her. Because this is not the first time I've been bitten by one of those dogs, but this is just the worst time. And I was like, and I can tell you, it's like...
the first time they got a good grip on you.
It's like she's possessed, so you need to, like, train that out of her. Because it's something like, well, police dogs and that kind of stuff go through that. They've got a strong prey drive, so you just need to help them learn what is prey and what's not. Mainly, my hand is not prey. So... he was all like, I'll keep her upstairs and I'll isolate her. We're like, no, Elliot, you don't understand the severity of the situation. Either she needs to be removed from the household or, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, if animal control were to say she needs to move, like, what they would say is, based on our experience with Perry and animal control, is she would need to be removed from the household area. And he was like, I'll just keep her. I'm like, I don't think you understand, buddy. You'd have to move out completely.
In which case, then yeah, take her.
It's like, I don't think the severity of the situation, which I don't want him to take her because she's only this way because he had her.
Well, the whole reason we have this problem...
he obviously wasn't there to take care of...
the reason we have essentially...
when he had his 3 animal control calls.
Well, the reason we have issues with Freya is, again, because we started training all 3 of them. Elliot did isolate her up in his room and then did not properly train her. He treated her like an already trained dog, so he gave her no boundaries.
And I want to clarify... she is a good dog.
She's a sweetheart.
I wanted to say, like, this is not us harping on the dog because I do love her very much. The day before all this stuff happened, I had a picture of her cuddling up next to me. We were sleeping. Like, she's been doing much better. The bigger problem is actually I've been working on recall training with her. We've been working on sharing. It's just like something like reactivity is something in a dog breed. Like, that's something that you have to
all
actively
the dogs,
train out. You know?
Malline is like catnip to them because they love her so much. That's the problem. They get jealous, and so then they try and fight over her and, like, claim her. And I'm just like, unfortunately, Malline, you are too loved, and they're fighting for your honor.
Because I was like, oh, my God. Because afterwards, when I'm, you know, laying on the kitchen floor bleeding out, I wasn't upset. I was like also laying there like
I had to go and like
upset that my hand hurt. I was upset. I was like, please don't call animal control. Please.
I had to talk Malline down off the ledge.
Can you take this off of me? It's actually making me so sweaty, and I can't get it off because it's on my right hand. I just thought about that when I put on the thing. I actually can't get it off because I'm right-handed. I can get you some scissors.
Oh, I got some scissors right here. Just put your.
I'm standing here being really sweaty, and I'm like,
bring your wrist
thing
back.
Is like a sweat soaker. Anyways, enough depressing talk. Now
I actually started with depressing talk this morning.
On to more fun things. I don't know. I think it's just like the stress. Because the last 2 days are supposed to be my last day off of the year, my first day off of the year. Yesterday, they started fighting in the living room because I was sitting there and they got my dad's leg. So, yippee. And the day before, they got me. So I was like, our 2 days off, both days, were very stressful.
And the problem is that the reason, from what I heard, at least from the shouting through the floor, because I was in the basement putting away a thing of yarn, I just heard shouting upstairs. From what I heard, it sounds like there was miscommunication, someone didn't pay attention to who they were letting out, and the girls crashed into each other.
Yeah, one of them was supposed to be back in the crate. She had not gotten fully to the crate. She was still in the living room. The second girl came out.
I'm guessing Dad got
almost
impatient.
got to the door, turned around, saw the one in the living room, beeline straight for her, and they started fighting.
Well, the problem is it's actually Freya's the one who's causing the damage. Piper's the one who's initiating the fights.
That's what I'm saying. Freya is not necessarily an aggressive dog in any way, but when she gets that fight or flight response, like one of those Malinois or German Shepherd, like one of those dogs that are typically used in police forces, she looks like a shepherd, so she's obviously got that in her. Once she gets into that fight or flight response, there is no breaking her. She gets this look in her eyes. She gets, like, feral. Practically.
And the problem is Piper is a pest. She's literally like Pop the Weasel sort of thing. Like, if I keep poking her, like, she'll steal bones from the other two. She will go and
she's like
pop at them.
Those kids, they'll be like, are you there yet? Are you there yet?
Yeah,
stop.
she doesn't mean to be aggressive, but she is a little pest. And, and she initiates these fights, and then Freya, not realizing this is a plaything, goes and tries to kill her.
Yeah, it's just, they are just being, and Dad is right, Piper is too jealous.
She is?
Freya doesn't know how to deal with something that really isn't a true threat.
It's a mix of Piper's being annoying and Freya doesn't know how to ignore her.
Because she was raised by herself. She wasn't raised in a group. So it's stuff that, again, nature versus nurture, it's really not her fault in any way.
It's Elliot's fault.
It's just a nature thing. It's not in any way something that she's not a bad dog. She's not a mean dog. Like, we have so many
Well, we had
pictures
Lucy, who was
of
even
all
more
the-
German than her, and we trained her perfectly fine.
Exactly. It's like, we have pictures of all the dogs sleeping together nicely, playing together nicely.
They can coexist. Just the moment that someone,
It's just-
they get jealous.
It's literally like kids today in my class. They have no conflict resolution skills. It's so funny because it's like my kids in my class.
Yeah, I feel bad for Madeline because I'm like,
Can you
like
open this
most,
for me?
let me finish the stick. Most of the time, it's like, again, it's Madeline gets downstairs and they all have to be defensive of her. I'm like, you can share her.
I know.
This is not a limited commodity.
I would be like, oh, I feel so special. No, I feel pretty awesome. And I'm like,
You just want the corner cut off or what?
I'm just trying to eat stuff.
I'm afraid it pop open because I have bad luck with these sort of
It's
things.
just
So.
like, I just want to love them and them to love me. But I can't even
They
have
love you
freaking
too
that.
much is the problem.
And I say, it's like the only option is I remove myself from the situation, which again is a loss. So I'm like, what the
Well, it's why I gently coax Madeline sometimes when she's like, I feel bad for them. It's like, it's okay. Sometimes you just gotta.
And a lot of it comes from issues I need to work on that I'm projecting onto dogs.
Which is why I'm like, if you need something to hug, I'll hug you.
Yeah. A lot of it is issues from me. I am aware. Unlike the other boys in this, like right now my dad's in an ADHD anger mindset. He's not really angry, but something's bothering him that's too difficult to kind of like work through and comprehend.
That's
at the
why I
moment.
said he has
so he's
ADHD.
gonna turn to anger.
He has
I know,
ADHD energy this morning.
because that's me. It's like he's not actually mad at you. He is upset at something else that he can't fix and he can't control, so it turns into anger. Hey, I didn't spend thousands of dollars in therapy to not be able to diagnose my dad, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Olivia to do some stuff for our shop, and she did not, and now she's walking on the treadmill. So, because she also yesterday, so the first time the dogs fought, she was not there, and then yesterday she was in the bathroom, so she came out, she's all giggling and laughing, the rest of us are like, depressed. He's like, I was in the bathroom, so it doesn't count for me. I was like, Olivia, I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Well, I'm just like,
But
I
she's
went.
all like,
I went down for
sad, I wanna go
5
back
minutes
school.
to go and put a thing of yarn away, and then that happened. I'm like, why did you not? Come on, guys. I would have helped.
I would have helped too, but they told me I wasn't allowed to.
Well, you're not allowed to because you're wounded, so that is fair. But I'm just kind of like, if they needed an extra set of
Loser
hands,
excuses.
they could have waited until I came back up. I would have been like, hey, let me give you a hand. Oops, I'm gonna lose my stitch marker. But I'm assuming it was partially Dad was being a little impatient with letting the dogs out. She can be sometimes. That's actually the biggest issue with having 4 dogs. It's not having 4 dogs. It's having 6 people and 4 dogs.
Yeah,
And not
and
all of them are on the same page.
He
It's harder
thought
to
Freya
organize
was
people.
coming back, and she was just not as close as he thought she was. So it was just like, it was just purely a miscommunication.
But, you know, how do you tell that to someone who's freaking out?
Yeah, I was like, it really was not necessarily anybody's fault. It was
Emotions were high.
miscommunication. Yeah. So I was like, oh, whatever. I gotta make some freaking.
And the biggest thing is that the hardest thing afterwards is the coming back down and being like, okay, this happened, and it's okay. We're all still alive. Mallie still has her left hand. We're all good, you know? It's the coming back down, because especially we have a lot of attention stuff going on in this family. Clearly a lot of mental stuff going on. So it's like kind of bringing everyone back down is the harder part. But, yeah. It's been a fun couple of days. And that's the thing, is I'm trying to, you know, that's why I'm saying, like, I don't have time to stress about anything else. I've been, you know, doing crochet stuff because in some ways it's my way of kind of stabilizing when I'm doing everything else. Because I'm like, you know, I did my one reaction thing a few days ago. I'm happy I did that. And I have to go edit that. And that was me doing stuff for me. And, you know, and I'm trying to stream more. I'm hoping to do more games once we get past this market because we are gamers. So I kind of want to get back into that part of our label. And, you know, but I'm going to start my new photo job on Monday. We'll still be nannying in the morning, which is, I'm glad for that because that's like my only solid source of income right now. And, like, you know, I feel I want to press forward with a couple things so I can feel like I'm going forward. But like Madeline says, like, even if you're treading water, at least you're not sinking. So I try and just keep that in mind. But it's like sometimes it just feels like a lot. And like I said, that one thing that again, was just a mistake. And I didn't do it, and, you know, I screwed up one of my classes in the fall, and so that made me just kind of be really, yeah, it had me questioning, like, if I should still be doing this because I just not sure I can do it sometimes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I just, it's a lot to think about right now. But just sometimes when you look at it from the outside, when you're doing it, it doesn't feel so bad, but, like, sometimes you look at it from the outside being like, okay, so we got, the 2 different jobs. We're trying to start our small business. I'm trying to become something that involves writing and video games. Whether it be I'm streaming, whether it be I make YouTube videos. I want to try to make something that matters. And, like, you know, that takes time and energy and passion and stuff like that. And I'm also, you know, wanted to try and get a master's degree, you know. I don't know what good it will serve me, to be honest, but I wanted to just learn more. And, you know, at the same time, you're also trying to manage, like, just life stuff sometimes. Like, I apparently have the worst Medicaid agent in the world because we can never seem to get a hold of her, but Madeline's person is like, here's your thing, good job, you're covered, and my person is like, do we know she exists? We've called 4 different people at this point. Like, we went and talked to, my one person, my agent. We're trying to figure out, like, I sent in my information, but she's not told me if I've been, you know, accepted or not, that they've renewed my coverage. And so we call the one guy, he doesn't know. He calls the one girl, she doesn't know. So she calls a different girl, who doesn't know, who then transfers us to another guy, who doesn't know. We were on the phone for probably 40 minutes between 5 different connections. And eventually, when we finally get to the person who potentially could tell us if the lady had my thing, she had just clocked out. She went out at 5:30. It was 5:35. And we're like, cool, glad that we were on the phone for 45 minutes with 5 different people. Great. And that's the thing. It's like, even when they're, like, making these, like, things like the Medicare and Medicaid, they're supposed to be, like, for people in need and stuff like that. I'm like, they certainly aren't easy to access. And mind you, I'm only getting this far because I'm with my dad, who really knows how to chase down legal people. I'm a person with, you know, autism, ADHD, and stuff like that, so, like, it can create a full-on, like, fear response, panic attack thing of me just talking to someone on the phone. And I'm trying to chase down 4 different people, you know, just to figure out, hey, do I have my poor people insurance or not? You know, as I'm trying to figure, because, you know, that's on top of it. I'm trying to figure out also my health issues, to figure out why I have all these digestive issues, and trying to figure that out, and, you know, get medication for my mental stuff, and, you know, it just feels like everything is just like, oh my gosh, why is this so difficult? That's why Melanie says we need to live overseas, because they probably have better healthcare.
No, just because I was going to run away from my problems.
Well, I wasn't going to say that out loud. Well, they don't need to know that. Although if we lie on the internet, and then we'll have to make an apology video at some point and be like, yes, we admit, we are weenies.
Zowie.
But, yes, man, sometimes, like I was saying before, the things that kind of kept me afloat this fall, because there's been so many things, is, you know, marching band, for all it was a good season. It definitely hit its own bumps, but I definitely had by far the best girls I've ever had, so it was one of those times when, especially at the end of this season, like, you know, I tried to do this too, and I always wondered if it was insincere. Like, when I was, like, in high school, like, the teachers that really meant something to me, I always tried to really make it clear that, like, hey, you really meant something to me, you really changed my perspective on things. And you always gotta wonder if people, like, understand how sincere you actually are. But I will say, like, being on the receiving end of that, and people, like, they go and give you some stuff at the, you know, like, the end of things. And, you know, my one senior who was graduating, like, in her speech, she's like, you know, you've been an inspiration to me, and, like, you know, you've changed my life, and stuff like that. Like, platitudes like that, you know, you think sound cheesy when you say them, but they really mean a lot. Because that's sometimes the only thing that keeps me moving, and, like I said, I like caring for people, I like teaching people. I strive for human connection, but, in spite of how difficult it can be for me to do. Like, it means a lot. And that really helped me in that marching band season, is that even though we had problems, even though, again, my brother was kind of a jerk, I felt guilty about pulling Madeline back into this world she wants nothing to be part of. I was like, it was probably the best season to go out on. Because it's like, if you're going out on a season where you feel like you don't hate the thing, then it's a good time to go out, because that's probably as high as you're ever going to get. So it was a good season to go out on. And then, like, I enjoyed D&D. It kept me kind of going when I couldn't keep going. Obviously, working on market stuff. Even though it's been a little bit back and forth, this kind of a thing. And then, honestly, the biggest thing, like, that helped me this fall was honestly been getting back into Star Rail. And it could have been any video game, mind you. But having a video game to focus on and put your energy in that you could just come home and play it and feel a little happy. Like, that's the power of, like, a good story, good video games, is that, like, it helps you just kind of distance things for a little while so you can kind of get back into it. That's the whole theme of Balan Wonderworld, is that, like, the idea of, like, the Wonderworld itself is not a place to give people healing. The whole point is that this is where you come to find your balance so you can, like, face the world again. So that's why the whole idea is, like, you're not supposed to be, it's not like a just, happy dream realm sort of thing. That's actually a bad thing, is that that's the reason why you have to go in and fix it, is that, like, the people are not meant to stay there. Like, this is a place where you come, you find your balance. We got 1 cork, 2 more to go. You come, you find your balance, and that way you're able to go and face the trials of life again. That's why, like, for how many people, we need to replay that game. That was a good game. But, like, for the people who just went and tore that game apart, I'm like, it meant something very special to us when we did it at the time. It was our first really big stream that we got some really good engagement on, was that game. And then, like, it also just meant a lot to me thematically, in the fact that, like, it was something that we definitely needed at the time, because both of us were having a rough time. And it was literally that thing for us. When we were having a hard time, because we were doing still band and stuff like that, we could come home in the evening and play that game, and we just felt more at peace. And that's the power of a truly good game. Like, so, did I get kind of angry at the internet when everyone else was just making jokes on this, like, this is the worst game that's ever existed? I'm like, no. Even the worst game that, like, I think has existed that I've ever played has been, like, things like Sonic 06, and even then I can't say that game is horrible. I can say it's not finished. It definitely has a lot of problems, but I wouldn't say it's horrible. I think it was trying to do something very interesting, and if you can feel that something has heart, you're almost willing to be like, well, this didn't work, but try again. You can do it, And so that's why I kind of feel, like, bad about the whole fate that happened with Balan Wonderworld, just because, like, I felt like it's a very true thing sometimes, is that the whole point with the Wonderworld is just, it's not a place to be negative or positive, it's a place for you to find your balance, to pick yourself back up so you can go and face the trials of life. That's pretty impactful, I think, in a way. That's what video games can be for me sometimes when I'm just feeling very tired about everything, is that you can go be like, well, let me pick myself back up. So that's why, like, admittedly I didn't crochet as much at times during the fall, because sometimes I would just come home, like, the days where I'm home I might work on a plushie all day or something like that, but, like, sometimes I just need to come back and be like, I played Star Rail for a couple hours, because I needed something that I was passionate about and that, like, intrigued me and that I wanted to, that made me feel happy to do. And this could have been any game, but for me this fall it was Star Rail, so that's why I speak so positively now and try and get other people to play it with me, because I'm like, this helped me get through stuff. Also, sometimes the world I was in had a lot of, like, emotional stuff going on, so sometimes you just have the catharsis of just, like, watching other characters go through their struggles and come out the other end okay, makes you be like, okay, I think I can do this. Put back on the hazmat suit and head back out into the world, Although, I mean, that's literal in some ways, because preschool kids are just, like, walking pandemics. They are so dirty and so gross, and I will always wear a mask around them, even if it's not entirely required, because they're gross. Except for the one time I came to work, ironically enough, I was a sub for someone else. What was she out on, like a dentist appointment or something? And I came in very much sick, but I was also a sub already, so I was kind of like, well, if I pull out, then they'll need a sub for a sub. So I'm like, I came in, was practically dead on my feet. Me and Melanie just kind of ended the day like just slumped against each other, being like, okay, we survived that somehow.
What?
The week we all got sick.
With like that cold thing?
Yeah, and then I came into school like to sub, and I was definitely very sick at the time.
It was very funny.
I'm like, I'm sick, but I can't call out sick because I'm here to be calling out.
I was like, I need you to sub for Monday at work because I'm worried about like contaminating my hand, obviously, in my nasty, dirty classroom. And I was like, you can, but Evie is already subbing for me the first half of the day. So if you call a sub for me, then there's truly nobody in there. It's just gonna be 2 subs for the first day back off of a 2-week winter break. Unless you want them to be
We'll get you like a Michael Jackson glove.
Yeah. Well, luckily, the kids this year are great. They realistically could run the classroom on their own. I would just feel really like, how would you feel as a kid coming in and excited to see stuff, and then you're thrown into a state of like anxiety because you don't know what's going on. You know, where are your teachers? What's going on? You're
I certainly don't
see a familiar face.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the kids has been gone for 4 weeks because he was gone for 2 weeks before our 2-week break.
Mm.
And he's the one that kind of struggles with school already. So
is that the one that went on the cruise, or was that the other one?
They were on vacation, but I think they just went to Maryland. It's something where I'm like, could I technically yes, but then I don't know. I feel like I'm doing a disservice in my job of children.
And that shows that you really do care about the kids.
Yeah, I worry. I don't even know. I worry about them.
I definitely do think there are a handful of people that don't feel that way. Not many. That preschool is great, but there are just like I think 3 that do not feel that way, that are willing to go and be like, you just call out, and I'm like. You're one of the people who does consider the cost.
It was just because I talk a big talk, but I'll take a million days off. But I think that the difference is because I don't have my own kids. These essentially are my kids. Like I'm raising these guys for a year at least, and I think that definitely sunk in more last year when I was raising a kid full time. My class in the morning, then a different kid in the afternoon. I was like, it kind of sunk in the impact we're having on them of like, and especially I took 2 days off for a long weekend, so I took a Monday and a Friday off, and just in those days alone, my mom was like, the kids were so lost and confused and upset, and I was like, oh, that makes me so sad.
She says that you're appreciated, because as a parent, you can tell the difference when a teacher cares.
Aw, thanks. That is good to hear, because there's like especially at the beginning of the school year, I know next to my teaching partner who has
her kids also idolize you, and they've only had you like 4 days collectively, so.
Gang. Well, it's like, here's the thing. I know I have, like, fun, crazy energy, but it's, like, the long term is where it's really important. Because, like, when I'm standing next to my teaching partner who's got a master's degree in education and all these things, and then I introduce myself, hi, guys, I'm the other one. A lot of times the parents are like, oh, okay. And then this year, they got a very heavily concentrated dose of me immediately for a month. And I think that helped kind of rub it in of, like, no, I'm also, this is not it was not supposed to be a one teacher and then a TA. It's supposed to be 2 equal teachers, and then against their, I guess, expectations, then it became a teacher and a TA, except the one they didn't expect to be the teacher was the one doing it.
It shows that
I think it also subverted some expectations of the parents as well.
Well, I think it's also kind of like that one year, like when I first started teaching marching band without you. It's like you kind of realize like I can do this. It's hard, but I can do this. And I think that you've been very capable of a teacher this year. Not to mention, I feel like you have, like I did with marching band, where you have a very good class that makes you want to try. Which in some ways hurts more, because then you're like, you guys all sucked, and I could not have to care so much. But you guys are great, so I have to actually care, which is how I felt about... I felt about for marching band sometimes, is I had such a good group of girls that I wanted to give them good stuff, so sometimes I felt inadequate, being like, this is the same... boring stuff I do every year, but I feel like I want to give you more because you guys are great.
Yeah.
That's how they get you that's how they get you to stay in the teaching system, is that every once in a while you get one of those really good classes and then you'll be like, yeah, I can do this. And then the next one comes along and you're like, nope, I can't do this.
Thanks, guys.
But it's just, that's why like, we are literally living the kind of, like, starving artist dream in a way, like, we're, like, at least, the only way we
Luckily, we're not starving artists because we can live with our parents, which is great, even though that also is, I guess, a point of contention among a lot of people, which I don't know why, because it's, like, it's our life, not yours, dude.
Yeah, I don't mind, honestly. And like I said earlier, I'm lived with someone my entire life, so actually living entirely alone unnerves me a little bit because I'm used to being in a house with multiple people. It's kind of like I need my support system around me in order to function properly.
Mm-hmm.
So even when you guys might be gone for a couple days, like on a vacation, I do miss you a lot because I'm not used to there not being anyone around. I get lonely. So like, I don't honestly mind living like this because we're trying to get on our feet and we're not there yet. I think we got to our knees, or maybe our ankles, would be generous.
Mm-hmm.
But like, we're trying to get on our feet and trying to figure things out, and it's just, having that where we have somewhere we can stay that we're not worried about like getting kicked out or something like that, like, it really is a blessing because it kind of helps us figure everything out. Because when you like hate everything about your life, then it's hard to get them better. So like, the least you can find one or two things that aren't too bad, then you're like, okay, we can push ourselves up to try this again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like one of those things where I'm like, because that's what my kind of resolution thing, I guess you could say, for the last, couple months or so. That's why I started like, again, we originally streamed like, once a week with me and Ellen, and then after that I kind of just got to a point where I'm like, I'm going to try and do a couple of these. I was just a morning, I think I watched like some inspirational video from one of the YouTubers I watch, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to try and take a little agency here, and I put my camera and I did my first crochet stream, and then I started doing a couple other video game streams, and like, you know what, I'm going to try and take a little agency here and do something more with myself here. Which is, it worked out pretty well for me so far. Again, I know I don't necessarily attract a crowd, but like, the one or two people that come in, that aren't spam bots, I enjoy chatting to.
Oh.
I was like, when you were looking at the person the other day, I'm like, I'm gonna bet that's a hacker.
I know, I was like, I was so stupid.
Well, because I had very similar messaging, on Instagram, where like, they're like, asking like, where do you live? I'm like, okay, that's sus.
Well, obviously, I didn't tell them where we live.
Well, but more like, it's the question, I'm like, that's suspicious.
I know. I removed them from all of our things pretty much instantly. Just in case.
Yeah. We're like, how unfortunate.
Once I saw the profile picture, I was like, oh, alright. Now I just feel like an idiot.
I figured that's what it was, but again, we don't want to get benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So, I suspected that's what it was, but...
Fooled again!
Well, it's like the people who would go and message me on Instagram and be like, hey, I want to buy your stuff, and then they're like,
Those guys were trying to sell stuff, and I was like, we're not gonna buy it, and that's what I think they said. I was like, you can show me your stuff, I'm not gonna buy it from you.
Yeah. Or like, I get so many, like, I have to get so many people on DeviantArt, they're like, hey, I love your thing. I would like to,
hope you enjoy looking at
and I would like to use this part of my project, and most of the time it's the same message, just slightly changed, and most of the time with no proper punctuation. I'm like, alright.
Yeah.
I got like 30 of these messages at some point, so like, probably one or two in there are probably genuine, and they might actually like my art, but like, most of them are like, alright, spam bot. Let's dance. It's funny. So, like, you're trying to, like, just kind of one of those things where you just sit back and be like, at some point, be like, man, like, you're just kind of, that's why I'm kind of streaming, and sometimes I rant to the internet. Sometimes I'm being like, is anyone else out there struggling? Is this just me? That was the other thing that getting, like, diagnosed helped me with a little bit, because before I always just assumed that I was just missing things and, like, in like, a bad, inefficient human being. I'm like, oh no, I'm actually predisposed to not get these things, Like, we're talking about the stuff going on with our cousins downstairs, and I'm like...
Oh my god, crazy.
And I'm just kind of like...
Crazy drama.
I don't understand why this keeps happening. Like, I don't... Is there really nothing else to do besides, like, bang each other? Like...
LOL.
How does this keep... How many other things... We do have incredibly sweet tea. Just, we could potentially say without names, but
I can say it
Mal-
with names.
Malin knows more than I do. I just listen. Malin knows the better details.
Move your feet.
Malin, get on her tea stool.
I'm on my tea stool.
Meredith's like, tell her the tea.
I'm gonna give you.
So you like
I'm
her
gonna
little
give
thing?
you
I got
little,
a gamer stitch on her microphone now.
I'm gonna give you a little hint just to leave you kind of. I can't give you the full meal because that's not fun. My cousin got his ex-girlfriend pregnant, and there's more drama, but that's what you get to know. There's a baby coming, and he's younger than Elliot.
And
I
mind you, this is like the fourth illegitimate grandchild.
We can tell you more drama in person, but that's where we'll leave you with a little. There's a baby on the way.
Like I think we have like what?
Unplanned.
We have one legitimate. Like my grandma has like one legitimate grandchild on that side of the family.
Technically, because Audrey is married.
I always forget it.
2 illegitimate, 2 legitimate, half and half.
Yeah, so like. Handful of ones that are definitely not like legitimate. Handful of them there are.
Like they're legitimate kids. They're just like not, whatever. They're not made in wedlock.
Well, this is the first one on that side of the family because there's less to.
Technically, and we want to clarify too. The first kid that was born on our dad's side, single mom, whatnot. This that kid's great. I want to clarify. That kid's great. However, the situation was not great.
Well, it's also...
And the other kids, not my favorite. My family is not unfamiliar with teen pregnancy, lol.
The beautiful thing, though, is just when you have, like, 30 cousins on one side of your family, it's just...
We actually have 20 cousins, including us, so it's like... It's not even an exaggeration to say 20, because there is. There's 20 of them.
Well, yeah,
my dad's got, like, 7 siblings.
Yeah, my dad's got, like, 7 siblings, so, each of them has at least 1 kid. Most of them had 3, Spread it out. You're going to have a lot of stuff that just kind of happens.
All of them have 2 or more. None of them have just 1. All of them have 2 or more.
Well, the funny a lot of them only had 1 until mom had more.
That's because mom's hot. So they were like, the hot lady, now she's got more kids. We got to compete with her. And then guess what? My mom was still hot after having all those kids.
Well, because surprisingly, when you don't go and do all of the drugs, it does make you not age as fast.
Which is also so crazy because on my mom's side of the family, they also have an issue with kids and not necessarily teen pregnancies, but kids and then very messy situations surrounding the kids. So I'm like, interesting. So I called my cousin for like an hour and a half yesterday so she could tell me the drama because it's her brother. So it's like, for reference, our one side's got 3 cousins, legally 6, 3 of them that we realize. Then on the other side we've got 20. And somehow, the one with the 3 has way more drama than the 20. Which is...
Well, to be fair...
Just how it is.
I mean, it's Erie, it's the North, there's so little to do there.
And Elliot and Holly are like, I'm going to go up to Erie. Why, dude? There's nothing up there.
There's nothing there, but...
Next week, in the snow and the rain. I was like, you guys are so stupid. My hand hurts really bad. I'm not going to lie.
Well, stop gesturing with it then.
I know. I have to hold it completely still right now.
So, yeah. Mine's screaming off screen because of her hand. But, yeah.
It doesn't hurt bad until I move it, and then it, hurts really bad.
Well, that would make sense, that, moving the wounded thing would probably make it hurt.
It hurts my hand.
But, the one, like she was saying, tell them how to drink the water. Gosh.
Well, hey, we know at least Elliot was buying contraceptives, so at the very least, we're hoping he's wrapping it up, which is good.
It's just there's some things I'm just kind of
Undoubtedly, he will have the first child.
Yeah, without a doubt.
That's just guaranteed because Evie and I work in childcare, so we are definitely going to be the last.
I also think I lack any sexual attraction in anyone, so
And that's fair.
So I don't know if I will ever have the
no
kids.
No weenies for me, please. Thanks.
What, should I go put my ace dragon more clearly on screen?
Yeah, that's funny.
I have him down here. He's my little noodle.
Is that really what he's supposed to be, an ace dragon?
Yeah, he's an ace
dragon. I did not connect that until right now. I just thought he was cool.
I told you that when I got it.
I wasn't listening, obviously.
I told you twice.
I wasn't listening. I can get you some fun pins.
This is my ace long boy.
I just thought it was a good. You know what's funny? The skeleton jack next to you is also can be your ace jack because he's got purple and black and white and gray. He just doesn't have the gray.
Also, it's a noodle guy, so I thought he was cute. But yeah. That's what I'm going with for now, at least.
Girl, shout out to the queers in the room tonight.
Well, it's one of those things that DJ and I were talking late at night, and we're just kind of like, he's like, this sounds like what you are. I'm like, yeah, that probably sounds right.
This is you.
Well, we just, we talked about it for a long time.
This sounds like you. I can't figure out how to freaking change my stuff, my social media stuff.
Because the best part, I saw this one thing on Instagram that I thought was very funny and very relatable, where it's like this person who's like, how was it? It was like, all these people trying to figure out, their sexuality, gender identity, and stuff like that. I'm over here with autism trying to figure out if I'm actually a human or an alien. And I'm like, I relate to that so much. I'm like, I'm so busy trying to figure out if I'm a functioning human or if I'm from another planet that, like, you don't even stop to think about things about, like, who you're attracted to or stuff like that, or what your gender identity is or anything like that. Like, you're busy trying to figure out if you're just a human. You're trying to figure out, like, how to interact with humans on a normal basis. That's why I'm honestly have gone into so many, like, kind of abusive friendships, is that I'm like, I'm just so happy to be like, hey, fellow human with I can connect to and that isn't opposed to my presence. Great, this is great progress. That's how I always, in elementary school and middle school, I always made friends with the, as you would call them, unkindly then, the disabled kids, and I would always be like, because I'd be like...
I was going to say the rainbow table, and honestly...
No, rainbow table was high school. This is elementary school.
Shout out to my rainbow table friends.
No one knows that in elementary school. I was talking about elementary school. In high school, yes, I did hang out with the rainbow table because I was just like, hey, look, other nerds.
Hey, because you know who the nicest people are going to be? The people who know what it's like to be on the outside.
Yes.
And I stand by that. The outsiders are always the kindest because they know what it's like to be hurt.
Except
some of them get really weird.
Yeah.
And then they stalk you.
Somehow, I've always find the weird ones. Like... I'm very patient, I'm very accepting of people, because I want to just make human connections, and then you'll be like, cool, found a friend, and then they get weird and tell you about how they're going to take their lives and stuff, and then you're like, okay, I'm less pleasant now. It's just, it's that's why in some ways, I never really thought too much about it, but, like, missing social cues isn't necessarily just in the fact that, like, you read the room improperly, because I think I'm fairly good at reading a room, because I kind of get vibes. I'm a very empathetic person, so I'm very good at relating to other people's emotions. The problem is that I'm not good at catching the things that are essentially, like, the word lies type of thing, the emotion lies. Like, people say something that they mean something else. That those sort of things are hard. But I'm good at feeling, like, the emotions of a room. But my bigger thing is, like, the fact that, like, you'll go in and be like, this is a dangerous thing, and you'll be like, well, yeah, but I want to help. And then they'll be like, nope, that person never could have been helped, and it's not on you. And you're like, oh, alright. Stuff like that. So, that's the fun part. And also just because, like, I'm a person who would want to go up to someone and be like, if someone went and said, like, hey, I remember I thought about this sometimes in high school, where people would be like, I'm this, that, or the other. Like, I vaguely knew how... By the way, I didn't know it was gay for the longest time. I knew from fanfiction that, like, what Yuri and Yaoi were, so which is essentially gay and lesbian stuff. I didn't know what those words were at the time, but I knew of it from fanfiction. But, like, all the other things, like the words and terminologies that people would use, like, pan and bi and all these other stuff, I had no clue what the heck those were. And if you try and ask someone about that, they get really defensive. And you're just kind of like... What am I supposed to do? Get an Urban Dictionary or something like that? Like, the amount of people, and to be fair, everyone's insecure in high school, but the amount of people you can go up to and be like, you go in there, and I remember so often, I would usually be very quiet, because I didn't understand a situation. I would just be quiet and watch to try and figure out the code, and then once I was confident enough to speak it, then I would speak. But most of the time, that's why I did end up at the rainbow table for a while, and I just didn't really know exactly what everyone was there. Is because, like, I was going in there and trying to figure things out. It was like everyone had this code and understanding that I was just missing. And so I was just like, I'll get it eventually. But you wouldn't bother asking, because then he's going to be like, you feel like that's going to be awkward. Not to mention, no one likes feeling stupid when you're, like, going up to someone and being like, I should know what this is, but I don't. And, at least now I'd be like, okay, if I don't understand something, I kind of understand why. Because that, again, that, like I've said before, that's the kind of the bigger thing a diagnosis did for me. Because I'm kind of beyond the point of, like, getting, like, any, like, the early support stuff that helps you live better. But, like, it helps me in the fact that I can try and give myself a little bit more grace and be like, okay, they don't understand this, there's a reason why, and I just need to figure out a strategy around it. You know, talk to people. It's why sometimes I really struggle with people who can be, like, have, like, aggressive personalities, but, like, they're not mean. You know what I mean? Where, like, you'll have, like, people, like, for example, people who casually swear a lot. Or, which, you know, from my perspective, taking that at face value, people tend to do that when they're angry. So people who swear a lot, you might think, this person is just very angry or they're very volatile. So, therefore, not safe. But that person also might just be fine, and that just might be the way they talk. This is the struggle for me. Or, like, gosh, I felt so out of place half the time in, like, college and stuff like that, because people are talking about girlfriends, their boyfriends, and all the stuff they did last night, and how they did it, and who they did, and how many people were in the room, and I'm just like...
How many people are in the room? That's really funny, actually.
Yes. Conversations I've heard in on. And I'm just sitting there being like, anyone else is going to be like, oh, cool, man, that's great, or, like, that must have been fun, or, I don't know, but I'm sitting there trying to, like, analyze it like a math problem, be like, what? How? Is this? What? I didn't know you could, you know, like, I'm just sitting there, like, I'm aware of it, but it's like, it's the difference between, like, knowing and understanding. Is that, like, I know how these things work, but I'm also kind of standing there being like, I don't get why it was done. It's kind of like when going back to the thing about our cousin, I'm like, I know how that probably happened. I just don't get why it was done in the first place, you know? So I guess I can't understand it, you know? So that's why sometimes when you come to someone, and to be fair, like, what did you call them? Baby gays?
Baby gays.
Like, the ones that, like, people who just, like, figured out their sexuality and they're, like, you know, changed their entire personality to suit it. It's also something that I think in college, in high school, there's a lot of experimentation and stuff. And some people that are, like, so over the top and have to be talking about this, that, and the other, and they have to be going into explicit detail, and you're just kind of sitting there being like, is anyone else enjoying this, or is it just me who feels unsettled by this? Is it just me who feels awkward and wishes that they could close their ears? You know, because all I'm getting is weird mental images, you know? Mm-hmm. See, Brooklyn Blade.
Brooklyn Blade, what do they say?
Yo, WSP. Does that stand for something?
WSP?
Yeah.
What's poppin'? What's poppin'?
It says followed after that.
Dubs.
I think Brooklyn Blade, I think, like, you know, like Samurai and Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I will have to ask. I was thinking about this yesterday when I said something to Olivia, and I was like, do we have northern accents? Somebody told me one time that we have a very northern accent, and I was like, we've been living in the South for over 15 years.
I'm crocheting right now. I'm making these little corks for tops of potion bottles. And talking about my confusion over people's sexual stuff.
Yeah. Which I feel like is, like, an interesting topic, because so many people are figuring out now what it is to be gay, dog, you know? Because
I also think the thing is just, like, it's the
same. Figuring out that it's okay.
Well, I think the bigger thing actually is that, like, it's almost countercultural when you think. So here's my perspective: is that, and I remember DJ talking to me about this once and saying, like, that's why he can't use jokes that have any sort of, like, racial stereo. Oh yeah, we play a lot of games actually.
Just in the evenings.
I usually do that in the evenings. In the mornings, I'm usually crocheting. I do make video game characters. I make a lot of Freddies.
Well, after this weekend, we'll be playing much more games.
Yes, next week, more games. We typically, my sister and I will play on Tuesday minimum. But, oh, hey, DZ, what's up? I was wondering. Hey, I assumed that you were very happy to see me here. Yeah.
We are getting to this market this weekend. So
yeah, we got a market, so it's okay. I appreciate the, I appreciate the enthusiasm. But, yeah, we got a market, so that's why I've been mostly crocheting instead of doing games. But, like, yes, we do games in the evenings, typically 2. I try and aim for 7 or 7:30 if possible. Earlier if we can manage it, but usually it's because we're, you know, we nanny on Tuesday. You play Minecraft, Malin did at some point.
Yeah, You know what's so funny that you mentioned that? Because I'm gonna show you, I haven't played with them yet, but I got these little Minecraft bottles, dude.
The one of them is because it's green.
I can take off the chroma key.
That's actually why I put this on. I'm wearing a green shirt. I'm like, you can see through my chest.
That's awesome. I didn't know the chroma key was still on.
So my sister did at one point.
So there's these little. I want to make these into like a fun little craft at some point. I don't know what yet because inside you have. I got these from Target. They have like little. So you like take the little guy out, and then you're supposed to use this. There's like sand inside, and you have to like wash them down. So this is a duck.
I was trying to figure out what that was as you were holding it up.
It's a little duck. I got a duck, and then I got like. But I thought these would be fun once I'm done with the craft. Like I don't know. There's some fun craft you can do with these. I feel like. And this one is. You do some cool stuff. Good for you, buddy.
Yep. This is
also what.
I dabble in a little bit of all kinds of arts.
Speaking of Minecraft.
I write, I art, and I crochet. And then I also wax poetic about literature.
Well, this is a great stream to put on the background while you are doing art stuff as well.
Yeah, we have some other friends who like, some people who really like Sonic stuff who will put us on in the background.
Love Sonic. Real question is, we probably will never play Minecraft on here realistically, but thoughts on Minecraft movie? I think it's going to be really funny, because I think Jack Black is really funny. We were going to watch the Kung Fu Panda movie yesterday, and we might watch it later. But I think he's funny, because as he gets older, he's just being himself.
Well, before, when I saw the original trailer for the Minecraft movie, I'm like, that's going to be stupid. But then when they did the trailer...
I never saw the trailers, I just saw the pictures, and it looked stupid.
Well, there was an initial teaser that has the thing with Jason Momoa where they just show up in the Minecraft world and it only shows like those 5 characters and so like 5 seconds of dialogue.
And those 5 characters look. Those would definitely absolutely be the worst part of the movie. Absolutely, without a doubt.
But then, yeah, if you would like to, you can.
What'd they say?
I might show you some cool art stuff.
That is entirely up to you, Chief.
I don't know how.
What you should do is you should stream if you've got cool art stuff. You should just set up a camera and do your art on live.
So, like, the thing is that, the Minecraft movie, when we saw the trailer that was, I have 12? So, give me a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay.
Well, the funny thing is what the first line is, as a child,
we do not. Sorry.
What did they say?
Any social medias, we don't really have.
Did they ask for Instagram?
Yeah.
We had someone ask us yesterday. We do not have an Instagram for this stream channel. Sorry.
It's
what we have, though, is this Twitch channel. So anything you can send through Twitch, go crazy. But, just due to what our life is, we don't have Twitter, we don't have Instagram, but we do have this Twitch. So if there's a way you can make it into, like, an emote and send an emote, love to see it, dog. Or if you have a stream and you want to, like, link up your computer and just stream what you got, I'd love to take a look at your stream and see your artwork. I love watching artists make their art. Like, Evie does that sometimes. Evie, like...
No, we don't got one of those either.
What that's for?
Discord.
No, unfortunately.
Our
link is not available.
Not functional. Well, we're going to fix it one day, but...
Yeah, I tried to fix it yesterday, and it did not work the way we were hoping to. So I'm going to work on that after this market. However, I can't say my mom was watching me trace some pictures the other day, because I was just practicing on, like, body forms. Something about watching people draw, like, digitally is very soothing to me. I really like digital artists when they set up a camera and they, like, screen record themselves. Some people just have such a knack for lighting.
That's exactly why I'm on stream right now. Is I'm hoping that again, I've mentioned this before earlier. I am doing this because I don't really care for this part of the pattern, but I'm like, if I do it with the least people in the chat talking to me, egging me on, then I'll do it and I'll finish it, because it's kind of like body doubling in a way, where it's like, at least by communicating with someone, then you get a little bit more like mental engagement.
You'll have to read stuff out to me because I just can't.
Oh yeah, I'm reading stuff out.
Okay.
Daisy went off to do something, I'm assuming, but they said BRB.
Okay.
But they mentioned the Jumanji movie. I don't care for the Jumanji movie.
I thought the first one was pretty good.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the one with Robin Williams.
Oh, I'm thinking about the one with The Rock. And
that one was
Karen
good.
Gillian. I thought, and Jack
first
Black's in that one too. The first one I thought she thought was pretty good. It was pretty funny.
The second one, I think the old men they did were kind of overstayed their welcome in terms of the jokes they were doing, because you're like,
I don't really remember the second one.
That's the thing. The second one kind of did what the first one did, but did it with old guys, and you're like, okay, we kind of already treaded this ground. Like, you know, the movie felt much better by the time they added the new people. Like, they had, like, the whole crew of people at the end where they all come together, then it felt better. But, like, the first one's about, like, the one guy who's The Rock's playing, the one guy who, like, was it Kevin Hart? The short guy.
Yes, Kevin Hart.
And they're essentially fighting each other, and the idea is that, like, you know, they're two characters that are, like, the reverse of what they are normally in real life, and they're kind of fighting and going at each other. That's the first movie's conflict. Second movie's conflict is that again, except for now it's two old guys that have, you know, used to be friends, but are not friends anymore, and them figuring out their stuff inside the game. And, like, not bad, per se, but it's also, we just did this in the last movie, so you're kind of like, why are we doing it again? So that when they actually get to the new stuff, when they talk about, like, the one guy's insecurities, the Wonder guy's insecurities, and then, like, his friends come back in to help him, then, you know, it's a little better then, because, like, okay, now we're treading new ground.
Yeah.
You know, but before that, it was kind of like, okay, we already did this. We did this last time. So, I do like the first Jumanji movie. And back to what I was saying about Minecraft. First trailer, I was just like, okay, that looks stupid. But then when you see the Minecraft trailer, and you're just like, you know what? Jack Black might be the thing that literally makes this movie work.
Dog, it was so funny freaking, when I was a child, I yearned for the mine. Hey, buddy, that makes me laugh.
It's kind of one of those things where, like, this, okay, if Jack Black's just being himself in this, I'm like, honestly, this movie's so ridiculous that I'm like, if you play it that way, this actually might work. Like, it's kind of one of those things where, like, video game movies have to ride a fine line between not taking themselves too seriously, which is what certain ones like the Warcraft and Assassin's Creed ones did. They took themselves too seriously. But also at the same time, you have to remember, we're making a video game movie, so you have to have some fun with it too. But you can't also be slapstick humor, which is the way I kind of feel the Mario one went, where it's like, this is some fun jokes, fun action set pieces. Also, it's Mario, so there's literally, like, no story to pull from in the first place. But it's kind of like, I want to feel like I care about the story still. You can be silly, but still make me care about the characters. The first two Sonic movies and the FNAF movie are, I think, really fit into that thing where they're like, they're aware of their fandom and they're doing stuff for them, but at the same time, they're also like, we have a story to tell, and we can tell a competent story. Like, telling a competent story is not as hard as some people make it seem. It's just like, kind of, you have to, like, I've said this before, sincere storytelling. You're going in to tell a story. It doesn't have to be a complicated story. It doesn't have to be a story that necessarily has anything major to say. It can just be for fun and escapism, but, like, you have to go in with sincerity. The idea that you are making something, because the problem with a lot of things, and this is admittedly kind of something that the Marvel Cinematic Universe did, but you can't go in with an abundance of meta humor and lampshading, because then you're like, by being like, oh, hey, we're drawing the audience's attention away from these things, or we're making fun of ourselves so that you can't do it first. And you're like, no, that just makes you seem insecure about your story. Which is something that definitely a lot of the later Marvel things, especially the TV shows, they definitely have that insecurity in them, where you're like, you're afraid to go all the way, so you do it by half measures, and the audience is like, hey, we were there for you, we were ready to go along for the ride, why didn't you take us to the end? Why'd you... Because isn't that like how all their, like, TV series ends? They're like, okay, we're doing something interesting, and then the last two episodes, you're like, and that was a heel turn.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's... to be fair, I didn't even watch all of them. I think the only one I watched through all the way was Loki. But, like, I've watched a little bit of all of them, or at least watched reviews of all of them, and been like, okay, this just seems like it was going somewhere, and then it wasn't. Also, what is it with short TV shows nowadays? Like, I was thinking about this for, like, when people were talking... I remember when Has Been Hotel came out first, and people said, like, the pacing's fast, and I'm like, well, to be fair, for some reason people think that 6 episodes, 8 episodes, 10 episode seasons are where it's at. And I'm like, that is not enough time to tell a story. And to be fair, Has Been Hotel does it with flying colors. It moves fast, but and the same thing with kind of like, I don't know about the later seasons, because I didn't watch them, but like the first season of Vox Machina, It's like they move fast, but they also don't make you feel like you're being dragged behind them. Like they're moving with you. They're just being like, we got a lot of places to go and not a lot of time to do it. So you know. Aspen Hotel also works because it's definitely very much a musical, in like the genuine way a musical is. Like it's aware that it's a musical, and therefore it's trying to tell stories with its songs and its different song styles. But yeah, I will admit, some people are saying like that it has been moved a little too fast for them. Like that's fair because they have like 8 episodes to tell a lot of story in, because they have to. I mean, to be fair, they did kind of jump over a few hurdles in the fact that like it does kind of canonically take place after the pilot, so they didn't take forever in introducing the characters. They had to just be like, hey, you're gonna learn who these guys are along the way, and just go with it. And also we have to introduce new people. But I think they did a pretty good job of bridging that gap. But like anyone who says that like it is a fast paced in like, I wouldn't say the pacing's off, but anyone who says like it moved really fast, I'm like, yeah, I can see that. It did move quickly. It didn't have a lot of time. But that's what I'm just like, I don't know why there's so many like shows these days, and like I don't know if it's just network syndication or streaming changed the standard, but I'm like, so many TV shows nowadays are like 8-episode season, Mm-hmm. I always understood that for anime because I was like, okay, animation budgets, yeah, that makes sense, but like live action shows that only get 6 episodes, I'm like, how much are you spending on these shows that you can only afford 6 episodes or 8 episodes, or more importantly, how little faith do you have in this project? Like, if it was something that you're like, oh, this only needs 6 episodes to be told, or something like that, then you'd be like, okay, fine. Like, Over the Garden Wall sort of thing, that one I think it only needed that many, because that's how long they needed to tell the story, but, like, some of them, like the Marvel ones, are ones I'm just kind of like, that feels like you don't have enough time. I mean, I also feel this way about the end of, like, Steven Universe's Future. It's like, that one was definitely, like, they had 24 episodes, and somehow it still felt both rushed and bloated at the same time. Where it's like, because it was a TV show that was used to doing like vignette slice of life stories, and then every once in a while throwing in some plot stuff, but it was more concerned with building its world and its characters than it was with telling an overarching story until like everything comes together at the end. So the fact that like they essentially tell a story through a very long period of time, and it's kind of problematic in the last season then when they have 24 episodes, mind you, and they did a time skip too, so you're already kind of standing on the back foot in terms of audience engagement, because time skips are kind of like time travel. You have to use them very carefully, because otherwise you could just disorient the audience. But the biggest thing was just that they went in like, for the first half of the season they were just telling them vignettes, and which was fine. I didn't think any of them were to the same quality as the original show. A lot of them just felt rushed, and it felt like we have this massive cast of characters, but we can only see one of them per episode, and you're like, well, then that's not really a large cast of characters, is it? Like, how are we supposed to expect that all these people exist in this world at the same time if for some reason we can only get like one per episode? And you're almost like, did we just not have the budget for the voice actors, or what? So many questions I have to wonder about in the production background. They also felt like they had more of an agenda, like they had a corporate, list they were handed of like, you have to cover these messages and ideas, instead of the storytelling feeling more organic. And then like halfway through the season, they're like, okay, we were telling little vignettes that kind of just tell life lessons and stuff and talk about our characters, and now we're going to actually do a plot that builds episode by episode chronologically. And I'm like, wait a minute, you can't just start having an overarching plot halfway through the season. You want to start with that. You don't want to have that as an afterthought. And even then, they still kind of did a few vignette stories. So by the time you got to the end, you're like, it felt rushed because every other season before that had extended finales. AKA, when the finale episode came, it was usually a special. So instead of a 10-minute episode, it would be like a 45-minute episode. But for some reason in Future, they gave you 4 10-minute episodes, so it's like, it feels very disjointed and not like quite connected. Not to mention the conclusion kind of just comes out of nowhere, and you're kind of like, okay, I can kind of see how you're building up to this, but on the other hand, I feel like you built up to it a little too fast. It's kind of like you're seeing a bomb going off, except for the timer's cut in half, so you're like, I was expecting this to happen at some point. It just happened a little too fast. I didn't even get time to really feel the tension. You're like, oh, alright, I guess it's fine. I do 3 and a decrease. So it was just it was a weird thing, and that's why I feel so strained about. And like we've mentioned this before in previous streams, it's so easy to forgive a slow start than a poor ending, or at least an unsatisfactory ending. So like Steven Universe Future was like, okay, I kind of get where you're coming from. Some of it made sense. A lot of it, the rest of it though, again, the biggest issue I think that they had was, they have all these characters who just disappear for the most of the season, and then they all appear in the very end, and it didn't feel impactful. It didn't feel important that anyone was there. It was kind of like, you're just putting bodies in here to fill a room, you know. And the message just felt kind of out of left field. It wasn't necessarily wrong, but it was also something that was just like, okay, this has been 24 episodes of just feeling like, you know, awkward, like uncomfortable, like your parents are fighting and you don't want to say anything. Like, I don't want to speak up because I'm afraid I'm going to get yelled at. So we're vibed for 24 episodes, and you're just kind of like, okay, alright. It just felt weird and awkward, and then, like, they finished it, they have resolution, and the resolution is essentially, like, the typical goodbye episode a lot of cartoons have. But that's the thing, is, like, after we did all that build-up for this problem that was essentially solved with a hug and the power of friendship, you know...
Friendship.
Well, the power of friendship is not a bad trope. It actually is very powerful when used properly. The reason it's become a cliche and people start to turn up their noses at it is because of how many times it's been used incorrectly. Like when I watch, I've mentioned before, I watch OSP, which is Overly Sarcastic Productions. I love Red's Trope Talk segments. And I love because it's not just about talking about the trope, it's like why, you know, like she also talks about like the feelings behind a trope, like why is this trope hated, for instance, like, you know, power of friendship isn't...
Who would you consider... Sorry, continue, sorry.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
It's like, and so like, you know, why do people hate this trope? And like, well, a lot of the times it's because the trope has been poorly used in recent years, so we don't care for it as much. Like, meta humor has become, in the recent years, something that's more distastefully looked upon, because certain things like Marvel have kind of conditioned us to be like, okay, well, if they're doing that, then I don't need to take this seriously anymore. When really, like, when you go and watch some old movies, like, meta humor was actually a very powerful tool. Because it kind of helped lighten things up. So, like, the trope talk with, like, the power of friendship and stuff like that is actually a very sincere, like, writing element when it's used properly. But, like, when people are just like, well, we don't really know how to get out of this problem, so, wave your hand, power of friendship, and the problem solved, you know? Like, it's a good one when you use it, but you don't also want it to be your end-all, be-all thing we go to whenever we don't know how to get out of a problem. So it's kind of like, that's a... And to be fair, Steven Universe was also a show that, like, used power of friendship to pretty much defeat all their bosses. But it was sincere because it was about... I mean, the show itself, its theme was essentially about love of all kinds. Family love, platonic love, romantic love, you know, like, love in all of its forms. So, like, when he went and defeated a villain, so to speak, by essentially empathizing with them, that made sense for the theme of the show. Because that was the whole point. That, like, it, you know, put in a sappy way, love conquers all, but also just, like, there aren't, like, the way the show went, this is why some people didn't quite understand, with the show, was, like, you know, this was not a show that would give you boss fights and villains and stuff like that. Like Rebecca Sugar, who made the show, said at some point, there's no villains in the show. There's just people. And that's true of life, too. Like, we don't find, you know, they're very rarely are you going to find the stereotypical villain. It's just, there are people who've been hurt or are hurting and might continue, and that you might give them all the, like, chances in the world, and they might continue to hurt people. But at the end of the day, there are people. And that's the thing that she kind of got across with her fights, is that the way Steven would win the fight and stuff like that was, like, through his ability, like, the thing he had as a human, he had empathy. He was willing to talk to people, meet them at their level, and most of the time, like, the people who he helped, and he couldn't help everyone, mind you, because you can't, but, like, most of the time, the people that he talked to, like, the way he won them over, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, was that he went and stopped and talked to them and asked them how they felt. And just provided a listening ear. That's how, like, when he beats, like, you know, some people were, like, disappointed in the final boss that, like, there was no major boss fights. That he essentially just talked down the main, like, the big overarching villains of the show. I'm like, no, but that's the whole point. This is not something new. This is something the show has always been leading up to, is that, like, there are no villains in the show. There are only hurting people. And whether you can reach them or not, you don't know. But, like, the fact that, like, he goes and, like, wins over, like, the big bads of the show, essentially through listening to them and talking to them and getting them to essentially, like, he just stands where he is. He makes his line in the sand and then says, hey, this is where I stand. I'm not coming to where you're standing, but if you want to come halfway, I'll meet you there, you know? And which was a very, I think, powerful message. A lot of people missed that because they just wanted a big boss fight, but that was also what the show was about. So, all this to say, like, Power of Friendship was a reasonable way for Steven Universe Future 2 handle its problem. The problem was that it lacked that form of sincerity. So it felt like, we don't know how to fix this problem, so we're going to fix it with a hug. You know, and you're like, well, that's not necessarily something that wouldn't work for the show. But it was also kind of like, no, at this point, from how many mysteries you posed during the season, we do need a few concrete answers. And so the fact that at the end of it all, they're like, actually, we're just not going to answer any of it. We're just going to say he went to therapy and got better. And you're like, good for him, I guess. But also, that sounds a little bit of where'd my scissors go? A little bit of a, not necessarily boring, but maybe just not fulfilling conclusion. Especially because they kind of just gloss over the fact that he's going like, oh, hey, you had mental health problems and you went and saw your therapist. We never actually went into the whole therapizing thing. They just did a time jump and went forward like 4 months. Be like, oh, he's been seeing a therapist and he's much better now. I'm like, wait, we just spent the entire season seeing how he was very much not okay. And now we're just going to go to a time jump and be like, well, he worked on it, he's better now. And you're just like, alright, I mean, that's fine, but we got 2 corks. I think I made too many rows in this one because it's a little bigger than the other one. Or I skipped a row in the first one. Guess we'll find out when I make the third one. But, you know, it's just kind of one of those things where you're like, it wasn't bad, but it also was like, I knew you could do better. Which is the issue sometimes with the Friendship is Magic sort of a way of dealing with problems. It's not inherently bad, but it's also something you have to be kind of aware of what you're using it. It's kind of like, well, it's when you use anything. It's like if you use a comma in writing, or if you choose to use a combination of red and blue versus red and gold. It's like, you have to understand what the pieces are you're using before you use them. So that when you do use them, you're using them with purpose and with knowledge. Because like I've said before, any like great work should stand up to criticism. And that's not necessarily saying that it has to answer all that criticism, but I'm like, if you can properly defend something with its stylistic choices, even if you don't agree with the person at the end of the day, then that shows that you're like, that's, I think, the biggest issue with, like I say, sincerity and stuff, is insincere works. Ones that are insecure about what they're trying to do. So they just, like, this is something I felt really, like, whenever you've seen the news, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you're seeing, like, you know, like, the trailers for the new live-action How to Train Your Dragon, the trailers for the new live-action Snow White. The fact that, like, when they go and they, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, when they go and address, like, you know, maybe, like, I remember for How to Train Your Dragon, it was, like, you know, some of the characters don't look like the animated characters, which is the, you know, the property they're writing after, and people are like, oh, no, that's just people being upset because this person's a different race or something like that. I'm like, no, that's you being insecure. The reason people are upset is because they're saying you're making this property and you're not paying attention to where it's coming from. People are concerned because they're like, this character who has this very iconic appearance across 3 different movies, you're not respecting that. You know, you're not respecting this thing we love. So how can we trust that you're going to do a good job of this adaptation? That's also the thing that adaptations really need, is sincerity. So, like, well, if you're going into this with already this defensive attitude, like you're ready to argue with me the moment I start talking, then how can we have a meaningful discussion? How can I trust that your movie, your book, your whatever, has something that, you know, is important to say? Like I said, any story is a pact between the author and the audience to agree to meet halfway. That the author essentially leaves themselves open and vulnerable by sharing their inner thoughts and feelings and the stories they mean to write, and the audience agrees to step into their world and suspend their disbelief and hold out to the end with the promise that, they'll learn or feel something by the end of it. And when you start going in defensive, that's when, it just makes nasty feelings all around. That's why, again, to go back to Minecraft, that movie seems like it's not taking itself very seriously. It looks like it's just Jack Black being himself. I'm like, that's sincere in its own way. He's just being himself, and, like, they're not going in being like, oh, this is going to be some big important thing. They're like, nope, this is a ridiculous property and a ridiculous franchise, and we're going to have some fun with it. And you're like, okay, good. I could use a movie that makes me laugh, It's one of those sort of things where I'm just like, cool. Anyway, so, let's see. One increase. Alright. So, let's see. Sometimes I go and I'll finish, like, a thought and I'll come back out of it, like, you're coming out of a fog or something, and be like, okay, what was I talking about originally? I'll be like, I know I originally had a point. I lost it somewhere along the way.
Well, I do that all the time.
Like, I'm sure I brought all this up for a reason. I don't remember what that reason is now. I know we were talking about, like, sexualities at some point. I don't know how we got in this. I think it was the Minecraft, wasn't it? Brought up the Minecraft. Or as they typed in the Mainecraft. Man, I actually originally started streaming Minecraft a long time ago. Minecraft doesn't work for me because my problem is kind of the same reason that, like, open worlds can sometimes not be a hard sell for me. Is that I go into a game usually going in to want to, like, experience something. Like, I want to be directed in a certain location. This is why I like, story plot lines and stuff like that push you to travel in a certain way. Like, I like free travel, but I'm like, games that are just like, go in and figure it out. That I'm like, I struggle a little bit more, because usually I'm like, especially when you get older and you're like, you don't have as much time to play games, you're like, nope, straight linear path for me. Tell me which boss I gotta fight, So, Minecraft, it doesn't work for me as much because it's like, it is, a sandbox game. So, unless you go in with the idea of, like, I'm trying to build something, I'm trying to collect something, then I go in and I'm just like, I don't know what to do right now. Like, straight up creation is very hard when you think about it. So unless you go in with, like, an idea of, like, I'm trying to accomplish this thing, then, it can be a little daunting. So, I think this is also why I can struggle with open world games, is that I'm like, I need a direction to go in and a thing to accomplish. And I like the exploration aspect of it and going and seeing, like, I wonder what I can find. But at the end of the day, I'm kind of like, well, yeah, that's fun. But it holds my attention about as long as, like, a rhythm game does. Like, I play, like, Hatsumika a lot, the Diva Mega Mix on my Switch. And I'll go and I'll play some of my favorite songs for the, like, the listening to it and, like, just having the fun of, like, tapping buttons really rapidly. And maybe I'll try a new song or two. But since that one has no game mode, there's no, like, challenge, really. There's no... I mean, there is a challenge by going up in harder difficulties, but, like, there's no story mode. There's nothing I can collect by getting a higher score. I just am doing it, and so I do it until I'm bored, until my fingers hurt, and then I move on. I go to play another game. I kind of feel that way. That's how I kind of feel about, at least the open world games I've played. Which isn't a lot, mind you. So maybe I've just not found the right ones. But, like, ones that are more open zone, as, like, Legends Arceus or, like, Sonic Frontiers might be. Where, like, they have, like, loading areas between, locations, like, one seamless world. This doesn't work for me, because I'm kind of, like, the whole time being like, where am I going? I've said before, the first time I played Genshin Impact, I didn't even start the story quest for, like, half an hour because I got lost. I didn't know where the trigger was to activate the first quest. So that was just me being stupid, but also that's just, I got lost. I didn't know how to read the mini-map at the time. So I thought I was going in the right direction, because I'm like, this is the way the path leads. And then it turns out I was in the complete opposite location to where I need to go. So, like, on one hand, exploration is fun, but on the other hand, I get lost very easily. And I'm also an ADHD person, so it means I get distracted pretty easily, too. Unless I have a solid goal to move forward on. And sometimes I just want to rush through things because I'm like, give me stimulation now. That's why when I do a second playthrough of Star Rail, there's some quests I did out of order because I was just like, I want to know how the story goes. I need the stimulation now. So I rushed through some story quests. And now in hindsight, I'm like, there are like some that one I wish I didn't rush through because I realized in like hindsight that I'm like, oh, those were such cool things, but I was tired and seeking stimulation at the time, so I rushed through them. Or there's some that were like meant to be part of the main storyline, but like they were side quests. And I was like, I want to find out what happens next in the main storyline. So I just rushed into the main storyline without doing the side quest. And I'm like, oh, this gives context for that other thing I was confused about. So, like, it's also sometimes a patience thing where I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I need the stimulation now. Sometimes when I'm like that, I have to go and be like, okay, time to play a different game. Which, you know, to bring up the topic of games too, I'm ready to play a Nuzlocke. I just need to figure out how to do the tech part of it so I can get a nice overlay, which probably will not be hard. Just learning a new technology of any kind, especially when I have this strong anxiety of anytime we change anything in the stream setup that it'll just suddenly explode and stop working. So when you're on such unstable grounds and starting a new hobby/passion thing, and then you're trying to change it up even more, I just have this constant anxiety of like, this is going to be the thing that breaks it, and I won't be able to do it again. And then it will be hard, and when things are hard, my brain says no, and so I just abandon them. It's kind of how my blog is right now, because I have a blog. But, I've not been doing it for a while, because I had to do a couple things that take a little bit more time and effort to make, so my brain's just like, no, that thing's so hard, go do something else. I'm like, okay, I'll trust you. It's not as if you've led me astray before. It's kind of like those voices today are in your head in the middle of the night being like, hey, do you want to think about this thing right now? I'm like, no, I'd rather go to sleep. They're like, well, since you said yes, let's do that. And I'm like, why? Why do you do this to me? But that's also why I'm looking at like I want to get back to like sorting out my backlog. Because they say sorting it out is the first step to trying to, like, you know, play more video games. But the idea is, like, once I have my list of games that I want to play, I can maybe put them on a roulette wheel or something. And be like, this is what I'm going to play this month. You know? Which, again, should be easier if I stream more often. Because then, again, that's my accountability thing. It's like, if I go and stream, if I hold myself to I can't hold myself to a schedule. I've tried to do that, like 4 times. It never works. I immediately, like, abandon it within, like, a week. But, because I'll get really good, Malin can speak to this too. You get really good at, like, a schedule, and then some random thing you cannot predict happens, and then you're set off for, like, the next 4 months. And you're like, well, I tried. And life happened, as it always does. So I'm like, that's why they're like, schedule when you're going to stream on Twitch for consistency and get better viewership. And I'm like, I would, but even I don't know when I'm going to be streaming, so... How can I expect anyone else to guess?
As evidenced by the fact we try to take 2 days off, and both of those days went catastrophically wrong. We live in a sitcom.
Yes. We just don't have the laugh track is the problem. So I'm like, even trying to schedule things over like this, like Christmas break sort of thing, I think I've done things different times, different consistencies. I didn't play any of the games I meant to. I am glad I at least got the Genshin demo react thing done because I was like, I originally wanted to do 3 of those, and I did 1 so far, and I still need to edit it, but I'm like, at least I did the 1. At least I can say I did that. An attempt was made. But, like, I wanted to start playing Metaphor Fantasio over the Christmas break, and now we're here, like, 2 days off of it being over, and I have not even pulled it out of the plastic wrap, you know.
Yippee!
So many things you go in and be like, I'll be able to do this. Then you don't. That's why...
You know what? Next weekend's gonna be great, dude.
We're gonna get so much done next weekend?
We're gonna do so much stuff next weekend. Just gotta get through this one first.
Sometimes I stop to look at my Stitch.
You know what? It is exciting in a way, because we're gonna do this huge con. It's just, you know, it's also stressful. Mostly for me, it's because it's unknown. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if we're going to be popular. I don't know if we're going to fail catastrophic. I just simply don't know. And that's what's kind of got me stressed.
Yeah, I kind of brought that up a little bit earlier, where I'm just like, I know it's going to be fine. I know I probably have, people will enjoy my stuff, and if I run out of stock, that's a good thing because it means people really enjoy my stuff. But, it's the unknowns that scare you.
Yep.
So, special thanks to the Mama Trees in the chat for being a supporting pillar while we both are losing our minds here.
No, for real. Without you, we would be cooked.
Like, you're kind of our stability, like, comfort animal, where, like, we're both losing our minds over here, and you're just like, hey, I can stop by and talk to you guys and help you out, and we're just like, thank you. We're both drowning over here. Help. You're the best. We need to take you out to, like, 15 lunches at this point.
I will buy you $100 billion. I'll babysit your kids for 6 straight months, every single day. I'll nanny your children for free. So you can work on your shop.
But, we need we need so much help, so any help we can get, we're always just like, thank you. We're like the one, like, dog that you, like, pet once, now it follows you around everywhere and is so happy whenever you come in the door, and we're just like, thank you. You rock. So we're just kind of like, existing, that's why I'm trying to put these corks together so I can get them on those potion bottles, so we can sell those, hopefully. I don't even know if those are going to sell, because I think, like, I've sold them, like, not even in the markets before. Like, I think most of them I've sold, like, have been to, like, people who saw them at Meredith's house.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, cool. Or Eric bought the one red one. So I'm like, I don't even know these are going to sell well. We might put them in a corner and they might sell as well as the rest of my bags, in which that is not at all. Like,
yeah, right?
I don't know what I'm going to do about those bags. I'm glad I made them, but I'm almost thinking, like, I want...
We'll still put them there, and they might be great gifts for preschool people, really.
Yeah, I'm like, I might have to put in the preschool and be like, hey, give me $15. It's yours. I made them because I'd be like, it was fun to make them. I really enjoyed making the little ones, but, like, I'm like, I can't sell these. Problem. To be fair, though, like, that's also kind of how I would be. Like, I am looking for plushies most of the time. So, I do not judge if no one looks at the bags. Because, admittedly, I wouldn't be either. I don't have, any special things on them, Remember, I was like, going to be like, I should make something that has been themed for this market, and then I'm like, that didn't happen. Maybe because a lot of the patterns are like, I've been, like, when you don't know, wait a minute. Oh, whoops. Did that in wrong order. It's 1 and then a decrease, alright. I have to make sure I'm paying attention to my stitches. But, you go through and be like, I can either make this new thing, which I've never done before, and see how it works, or I can do this thing I do know how to do and just make many of it. So usually your mind's like, well, that takes less stress and anxiety and mental stuff, so go do the thing you already know how to do. And I'm like, okay. So instead of trying new patterns, I was just like, let me just keep making these other ones I know of. I mean, I did try and make that one little, like, demon deer I have, and I'm just like, well, this thing definitely looks cursed. Doesn't look like what I was intending it to look like, but hopefully someone likes him. I originally, like, had some patterns that were, like, has-been themed. I was gonna be like, I'll make these for the thing, and then people will want them. But I'm like, I never did them. Just because, like, it was trying a new project. It was trying something that, I wasn't sure how it would work, how long it would take me. Not to mention the thing that really laid me up was all the holiday commissions we ended up having. I had the one big order. I had the one for Miss Jody. I made one for Miss Erin at some point. Like, I
totally forgot about that one.
I made a lot of gifts. And, like, so that honestly took up a lot of my time.
Tree is live.
Good.
Should be good.
But I'm like, I made a lot of gifts, so I was kind of like, that unfortunately did take up a lot of time.
Done. Okay. I'm gonna go wipe off our thing in the garage. We'll be back in like probably half an hour.
Okay, I don't know if I'll still be here by then because I'm just trying to get through these 3 corks.
No, you're fine. I'm going to so I need to do that, then I'll be back because I gotta back some stuff and I gotta do some more stuff on my computer, but that's kind of stuff I can do tonight. I need to wipe off that thing because we'll have to do that this afternoon. So I will be back soon!
You gotta step over a little bit more and to be in the camera. There you go.
I will be back soon. I'm gonna put this in my other hand. So I also have to go to the bathroom. Gotta take a dump.
You do that.
You know me, Jump Master Supreme.
You are. Okay. I keep looking at this and like, you know, if I'm really like focusing on a topic, then I can really focus on whatever I'm working on. But then like it's like as soon as I come out of the conversation I was having with myself, then I'll go and like look at my like thing I'm working on and be like, where am I? I was in such autopilot, like unconsciously working on things that like when I come back out of it, I'm like, I don't remember what row I'm on. I don't know what I'm doing. But I think I know what I'm doing here. I mean, I honestly should just make a ton of corks. That way when I make more bottles, I'll have extra corks laying around. But I don't know, just doing this over and over again, it's tiring. And again, I don't even know how well these bottles are going to sell. Because I haven't sold them really at market before. I give them to our, you know, our business partner. And she sells them with her dice. But I've not sold them at my booth before, and like, so I don't actually know how well they sell. And if I'm even going to get them much sold out of the 4 or 5 I have. I just need to give them creative names, and then people will be more interested in it. That's the other thing is pricing. It's like, I know from like the very beginning, people have told me as much, I'm charging far too little for my stuff. But also, on the other hand, I'm also like, but I want to sell anything at all. Like, you know? So I am bumping some of my prices up just because I'm like, well, I'm like, I realistically need to charge more because, you know, yarn does cost money. I always buy things on sale, but yarn does cost money. And more importantly, again, you know, take some time to make these things. I can get about 1 done a day usually, but as much as everyone's like, that's such a blistering speed, I'm like, yeah, it still takes a day. It's a day I'm not, you know, doing anything else like working or schooling or any of my other side hobbies that I'm trying to make into something. Like I was talking to my mom's friend, she knows from band, and you know, he's like a professor at like some college, and he has this channel where he does, you know, this was like ships. Increase. I had to remember what I was doing for a moment there. I had another moment where I was just stopped and I'm like, wait, what am I doing? And so he does videos on ships and stuff, which is cool. And after, like, you know, and they always tell you it takes time to build up a thing, but like now he does it where like he makes more than either the two of them do, and he's a college professor and she's a lawyer, so they're like, you know, he makes more monthly through his YouTube channel. And like obviously everyone's like the dream is to be like, you know, to be able to get like monetization off of your videos and stuff like that. I'm just kind of of the opinion like that would be nice because it would be another form of income and people wouldn't be as worried about me, but you know, living. But on the other hand, I'm like, I just kind of like have a lot of thoughts and sharing and stuff like that because like obviously I've proven through like streams and stuff I do, I got a lot of thoughts in my head. I have a lot of things I can talk about, and I can talk in circles for hours on end. Like, how many streams so far have I done where I've just spouted the entire, like, Sonic Adventure lore? But I want to, like, kind of put those into, like, a format people could watch, and I would like to have, like, discussions. Again, you know, seeking that human connection with people. And you're kind of like, how can I achieve that? And also, again, it's just hard having any sort of, like, self-start career. Because the whole time, you're just constantly second-guessing yourself. You're constantly wondering, like, am I doing this right? Is this a good endeavor? Should I bail out now? Or should I keep going and hope that I'm still doing it right? And that it's all going to pay off in the end? And, like, that's the thing that, like, me and Malin agreed to. That, like, you know, like, Malin said before, she would like to live somewhere overseas, at least, you know, for a little while. And obviously, she would let me come with her. But, like, we had this agreement that, like, you know, we started this business essentially in the fall. And so our idea was that, like, by next fall, we'll come back, reevaluate, and see where we're at. You know, are we going to do this like as an only job? Is it becoming profitable enough? Are we still running into problems? Because, you know, it does take a year, it can take, you know, a year to many years to establish a business. So, like, you know, building that up over time is a thought. So we're like, going to come back in fall and be like, okay, how much progress have we made with this? Do we think we're still going strong? Are we still interested in this? Are we, you know, are we getting better at all, you know? That sort of stuff. So we're going to reevaluate when we get to the fall, because I won't be doing marching band anymore. I'm retiring out of that job. Because I'm just, you know, no real particular reason besides the fact I've been doing it like almost a decade at this point. So I'm just, you know, I'm getting tired. You know, it just wears down on you after a while, and, you know, certain things happen and change, and you just got either less patience for it, or you don't have the passion for it anymore, and, you know, I had a good year, so I'm ready to go out on a good note, rather than a bad one. But, you know, and that's the thing I felt this year, even. Really love my girls. They were the sweetest things. They all tried so hard. Really appreciated working with them, but also I had all the hassles I normally do, which is like, you know, miscommunications with my brother, so we didn't get our stuff when we needed to. We were always like 2 steps behind. We lost a lot of practice time, just general miscommunications around the board, or things that like we had to, you know, we are supposedly going to have one thing we're going to do, and then turns out we have to do 2 times the work in order to make it work. And, you know, a lot of the stresses we're used to having marching band, and, you know, like, if it weren't for those girls, I would, you know, honestly dreaded going to practice a lot of the times, because I was just like, it was a mental headache. It was practically an emotional trauma response at times, and I'm like, I wanted to do it for the girls because they were so good. And if I hadn't had that great of a guard, I probably wouldn't have made it through the season. That's why I'm like, it's a good time to leave after that. So in the fall, we're going to come back and kind of reevaluate and determine where we're at with this business. But, like, you know, as we're doing this business, I'm also trying to do some personal stuff for me, so I can try and feel like a little bit more. Wait, 3 and a decrease. Oops. Let's pay attention to which row I'm on. 1, 2, 3, decrease. So you're kind of like trying to balance everything, and, you know, just like, is that that's why, again, I, as a person who doesn't quite always understand humans, even if I do like empathize with them a lot, it's like, is this how everyone feels? Like, you're just constantly like juggling. Like, is there ever a sense of stability along the way, you know, where you're like, okay, this is working, or are you just constantly in a state of, that's why, like, right now we're trying ADHD stuff, but my mom's like, you know, you might want to consider taking something for anxiety at some point. I'm like, yeah, I know. I just don't want to go to that first. I know I am in a constant anxious state. Which makes me just feel unsettled a lot of the times, and that makes everything else, my body, go haywire, but just trying to figure things out, and I feel like, you know, well, you know, social media and modern media tell you you're supposed to figure things out when you're like 23, and I'm like 29, so you're supposed to figure it out in your early 20s, and I'm about to be 30, so I'm like, well, I guess better late than never. I have to make sure I don't stuff these corks too much, or otherwise they don't fit down the stems of the bottles. Because I'm actually supposed to be doing this with a smaller hook. I just don't feel like getting it. You're supposed to actually do this with a 3 hook and make the bottle with a 4 hook. The difference is not huge, so I'm kind of just like, I just won't super stuff them. And it'll be fine. Besides, I think things that have a little squish to them are nice. So, I hope everyone's been enjoying this, our ASMR stream we've had so far. Even if it's been like 50% me talking pop culture and, well, maybe 30% me talking pop culture, 70% me complaining about, like, the futility of life. That's what I do when I come on here, when I'm streaming. I just kind of let my brain flow. I'm just like, what thoughts are in it? That is what I will share with you. At least until, someone diverts me and, redirects me in a different direction. Which, I will hop tracks pretty fast. It's just a matter of someone just going and poking and being like, it can be something as simple as like, hey, what's your favorite movie? And I'll just start up on a different tangent. The best things are if you ask me about, like, games and stuff like that, or, like, questions about lore. That I'm much more willing to go and be like, oh, yes, let me tell you much about this thing, of which I very much appreciate and love. And I'm more than willing to talk. Someone entered and didn't make any noise, so I was kind of like, what's going on? I about to be jumped? Okay. Okay, let's sew this one up. Whereas I talk a lot when I have, like, a stitch mark in my mouth. My sister says I do that, but I don't know. I think it's also kind of a stem thing. Oh, hey. What's up, Kizzy? I'm finishing up my next cork. Talking about life. But anyway, sometimes I think putting things in my mouth and just holding them off the side like that, I think is a bit of a stem thing for me, because I tend to do it a lot. Especially if I'm busy and trying to do something else. It's always fun getting a diagnosis and then going afterwards and being like, I can have so much more context for all the weird behavior things I'm doing now, and now I kind of understand why I did this whole time. That's why, like, again, I've said before, the whole reason I got a diagnosis is kind of like the same reason, like, Jacksepticeye got his, is like, you just kind of want to know. So you feel like, you understand yourself a little better. And also, again, in my case, it's like, so you can kind of, like, get help if you can. And even then, just kind of maybe give yourself a little bit more grace when you're like, I'm struggling with this, but that's okay, because I'm kind of, meant to struggle with this. It's kind of like, you wouldn't get angry at someone who has, one leg. You wouldn't be angry at them for not walking as fast as someone with two legs. So, like, not that it's that extreme, but it's just kind of one of those things where you're like, okay, well, I'm, like, I have both ADHD and autism, so it means I have, like, -20 executive functioning skills. Like, my brain's just not built to do that, and it's built actually to panic when it tries to do that. And, trying to give yourself a little grace, like, okay, so if I'm not great at these things, it's okay, I'll try my best to cope, but also I need to, because I never like using it as, like, oh, I can't do this because I have this. Because that just feels like an excuse. And not to mention, you're like, in my case, the whole empathy thing is like, I just think about, like, well, but other people handle this just fine. Why can't I handle this? But sometimes it's me going and being like, hey, it's okay that I can't do this, and I ask for help. That's why I'm kind of like, if I'm in a position, man, we're just getting all the bots today. We had the one hacker bot earlier, which I think was the Brooklyn Blade person, which is, I think, is the same person who was trying to, like, spam us yesterday. As, like, the Jasmine whatever. And now we have Fubberducky. Another bot. I mean, I don't know if that means I'm getting better or getting worse, but, like, I seem to be attracting a lot of spam bots lately, so I guess I'm not totally invisible. Also, I'm also not someone who's that interested in getting viewers anyway, because I'm kind of like, if you're not interested in what I'm talking about, I've told this to people before, because people are like, I like how you're just like you. I'm like, I don't really know how to be anyone else. I can only be me. I don't know how to do anyone else. I've tried for years and have much emotional trauma from that. It's called masking. But, like, yeah, trying to be anyone else just causes me immense mental stress. It's tiring, honestly. Alright, so we got 3 corks. Ugh. I'm coming up on 2 hours here. I mean, I guess that's not bad for 2 hours. I'm debating if I want to make any more, because again, this is the part of the potion bottles they're very just plain. So I just don't care making, just don't really enjoy making them. They're a necessary part of making this pattern, but I just don't care for making them. So I'm kind of like, do I want to make more? Because I know I'm going to make more potion bottles, and that way I'll have some extra corks laying around. Because sometimes I'm like, well, if I'm really into this, then maybe I can do it and just kind of push through it and stuff like that. But or should I go and that's a pretty yarn. Or should I go and like try and make another sorry, looking at it, I got a notification. I'm checking it out. This is the ADHD talking again. The interesting thing is right now for the Hoyo properties is they have the Hoyo Fair coming up, which is when like a bunch of people will make fan works for the different properties, so like Star Rail, Genshin Impact, and stuff like that. And honestly, the biggest thing is that you get some really cool animations and stuff from it. So that's coming up on my thing because it officially aired on January 1st, I believe, January 1st. I can't believe it's only January 2nd. That's crazy. So some of that stuff's popping up in my feed, and I'm just like, oh, that looks so cool. I'm also I'm trying to do a little bit of a detox right now with those sort of things. Like I said, the thing that kind of unintentionally burnt me out a little bit was when I did my reaction to like all the Genshin Impact demos, and I did not realize there were so many. Or more like you look at a number and it's just a number until you actually try and line them up and do them one after the other, and you're like, wow, this is actually kind of mentally taxing. So that's why I had to do it across 2 nights. But after that, I'm like, okay, I just can't touch anything in this. Like, I'm doing my dailies because obviously gacha games you have to log in daily if you want to get like good currency. But like, it was one of those things where I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna back off from this thing for a little bit and have a moment where my brain is not hyper focusing on that thing, and also so I can like do some crochet stuff. But it's also kind of one of those things that like now that I'm not like when I'm not hyper focusing on those properties, which has been my hyper fixation for a while, especially in the last month or so. Now my brain's like, okay, so you're not focusing on that. Sure, fine. What are you focusing on instead? And I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I'm not sure where I'm putting all my energy right now. Normally I have 15 topics in my head, and then when every once in a while where it's not even like quiet. It's more like static. Where like, and it's not like your brain is quiet and you don't have any thoughts. It's more like there's all this excess energy, but it's never forming into full pictures. So it's just like kind of this slightly unsettled, slightly like, for me, I feel sad. Malin, when it happens for her, she feels angry. But, like, it's this kind of unsettled feeling, which I guess is also a lot of anxiety, too. Where I'll just be sitting there being like, I'm not doing anything. I should be doing something, shouldn't I? I'm sure there's something I should be working on. I'm wasting my time just sitting here, like... That's also probably the fact that, like, I do probably need a stronger dose of the medication I'm working on right now. But they always tell you go through, like, the 30 days first to see what happens. But, like, I might need a stronger dose of that. I might need to take something for anxiety at some point, I'm saying. Ugh, so many problems, so many things to fix. That's why I have to come on here and play video games and crochet stuff, and maybe I'll make another cork. Because then I'll have an extra. For when I make another potion bottle. Again, this doesn't take long. It's just a little mind-numbing to work on. That's why I do it when I'm on here, because then I can talk to people and be like, hey, does anyone have any good movies they've seen lately? Does anyone want to talk about any video games? That's the thing I have difficulty with. I'm like, I don't know how to reach the video game crowd, because I know they're out there. I just don't know how to reach them. And the worst part is like when people go and like tell you like, here's how you become a better YouTuber / streamer. And the first thing that they'll go be is like, oh, learn how to manage multiple social media accounts and then reach out to people for collaborations. I'm like, cool. So just the scariest things I could possibly imagine in my mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because I don't have any social medias for myself as a human, much less for a channel. Marketing is the one part of communications that I've never wanted to be part of it and never planned to be part of because, again, I'm patient and sincere to a fault, so it means that I can't, if I feel like I'm lying about something, I can't do stuff for just the fact, like, oh, I need a post today because I just need a post today. Unless I have ingrained into a habit, I only put things up when I have something to say or something to share. That's why my, Instagram for my desk crochet, my Instagram feed where I put a lot of my crochet things I'm making is where I put those. I have not posted in a while because I've been so busy with everything else that the extra act of going and saying, hey, I made a thing, just feels like a lot. Not to mention, sometimes I feel like I'm just posting and be like, look at this thing I made. And I have nothing else to say about that. Sometimes being like, oh, hey, come to my shop, look at my thing. The extra effort of, putting in the marketing pitches is tiring for me, and it feels disingenuous. And the funny thing is that, my last major communications job was that, essentially marketing. And I can do it. I can get myself into the mindset, and when I put myself essentially into, a robot mode, I can do it, because it's just turn your brain off sort of things. But I don't like doing that, especially for something I see as something I enjoy and have fun with. So that's why I don't maintain, social channels. And then reaching out with people to, collaborate about, videos and stuff. For some of my closest friends, when I invited them to a campaign right at the end of 2020 isolation, and I felt, very alone. I felt very anxious. I wanted to run a D&D stream because I wanted to play D&D, but I could never find anyone who could maintain a campaign. So I'm like, fine, Thanos glove moment. I'll do it myself. All these people who I knew, who were my friends, who I trusted, and who I knew value me as people, I was so scared and anxious sending them out a simple invite that was essentially just, hey, do you want to play D&D together? That level of collaboration, gave me, borderline panic attacks. I don't know, I'm gonna collaborate with other random strangers on the internet I don't know. And 80% of the time, the people are super kind and really nice. We're gonna go to this... we're gonna go to this market, and Mallory's telling me about, you're gonna love it there because you're gonna be among your people. I'm like, yeah, I know. The problem is that, I got this stupid anxiety in my brain that just won't shut up and be like, this is dangerous. Stop now. So, trying to ask for people to do collaborations on, online. I have to, warm myself up to just chatting with people, much less blindly sending out an email to be like, hey, you want to work together? Because most people will say yes, but, I guess I got kind of the anxiety where I'm just, wondering, hey, are they not going to like what they see? Okay. Single increase. Okay. To keep track of my stitches. I also can tell whenever I'm getting, stressed or worked up over something, because my hands start suddenly sweating. And I'm someone who gets very clammy hands when I'm getting stressed. So I can tell it when I can hear the yarn start slipping because it's running along the sweat on my fingertips. Which is lovely. I also do that though generally. I'll be playing a video game and I'm not even stressed, I'll just be really in the moment and my hands will just start getting really sweaty. That happened when we were playing Sonic Superstars and trying to do a boss. Okay, single increase. We were trying to do this one boss, and it had, you had to be very precise trying to get it, and so eventually my hands were just getting super sweaty because I was trying to be so precise and, focused and stuff that my hands just got really slick. It happens. I'm one of those people. I am biologically speaking female, but I also seem to have a lot of things like a male at times. Namely, I sweat a lot, I have the worst feet, I have the worst teeth, in terms of like color and smell and stuff like that. Straightness, I'm actually got pretty straight teeth, but I've always had yellow teeth, you know, I've got the worst feet in terms of like shoes. And then like I got like eczema and stuff like that really flares up whenever I'm anxious or exposed to certain things. Got a lot of hair, especially of the body variety, and then like all this other stuff that I'm just kind of like, wow, what a great experience. Glad I at least have the biological things to be like, yes, I am in fact a girl, but I'm fine with that. I'm entirely happy with that. I don't, you know, again, when we were talking about the gender identity, sexuality thing earlier, and be like, yeah, I'm over here just trying to figure out how to human, right? I'm not even thinking about all the other questions because I'm like, I don't even know how to interact with me. How am I supposed to know how to interact with other humans? I'm confused enough by myself and just figuring out, like, why I feel like I'm just kind of a weird alien among other people sometimes. Like, I'm not going to stop and think. People are like, I have to wonder about people who are, like, are questioning, like, you know, I sat at the reading table at high school, so I kind of know it to an extent. Like, the knowledge is there, I just don't have understanding. Like, the person I talked to, who I talked to about Kingdom Hearts a lot, started as a she, ended at high school as a he. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. I just, you know, I'm seeking understanding, so I question why. And, you know, whenever you go and try and question why the person doesn't understand you or where you're coming from, then immediately they think that you're judging them or, you know, you're being inconsiderate or rude, and that's the problem. Like, I just need an Urban Dictionary and be like, okay, why did you do this? How did you know? You know? Because I'll sit myself and be like, okay, I don't know. Or, like, the thing that, like, you know, I get confused sometimes are, like, people that go, like, by, like, they. And no, nothing wrong with it. If you want to do that, sure. But I'm like, my brain, the way my brain works, since I'm a grammar nerd, the only thing that my brain can think about is like, they is a plural pronoun. How does that work in conversation? Normally you refer to they when you're referring to more than one person. So what if you're talking about a person who's a singular that goes by they, in addition to two other people, are they then a collective they? You know, like, these are the things my brain thinks about. Is I think about it grammatically. That's why I find it very hard to read things that are like characters that go by they and like they, them in literature, because I'm like, that just makes it... To be fair, most people don't use pronouns right in literature anyway when you're talking about like online stuff. Because I don't think a lot of people were taught how pronouns work properly. Like, a lot of people didn't figure out how to use commas properly, but like, you know, how confusing is that to read sometimes? Because then you're like, I don't even know who's talking anymore because there's no indicators. So I kind of run into that same thing where you're like referring to like they and stuff like that as that person. I'm like, my first instinct is always to think, well, they is a plural noun. So that implies more than one person. And then they're like, well, actually, this whole time I've been talking about a singular person. And then I'm just like, okay, rewind. Let me reevaluate this whole conversation in my head to properly realign. But you know, you say that to the wrong person, or a person who's potentially very defensive, and they think you're either trying to make fun of them, or you're trying to say something mean to them, or something like that, and I'm like, no, how other way can you phrase it besides, I genuinely don't understand? And, you know, like, you know, words are inefficient. This is why I prefer, when I just communicate with people, I prefer to write stories, and I prefer to communicate over written language, because sometimes I just go and I try and talk to people, and then these words fail, to quote the Evan Hansen song. Like, they don't seem sufficient enough. Our language is not as descriptive as it could be, or should be. I would prefer that they, you know, instead of using they, them as a singular pronoun, we just, I don't know, invent a new one, you know? Find a new terminology that would work. Because giving it a terminology that already exists feels wrong. Because now you're just confusing the original meaning with the new meaning, and you wonder why people are like, don't understand. Like, lack of understanding can cause so much damage to people. Yeah, I know, because it's happened to me all the time. It's definitely happened more than a few relationships. It's definitely happened in more than a few D&D games. Where you just don't understand the other person's intentions, so that when you come out of it, you're like, okay, if I read this situation straight, it looks really bad, and then after the fact, you're like, oh, actually, I was just reading it incorrectly. That's why I think back on that one night we had I mean, it says something that I have strong memories of, but like the one time I was in a D&D campaign and we had a ball. And it was, for all intents and purposes, a great event, a party sort of thing. And, you know, my character is fighting with another character, and you think this is all well and good. But then the other character, like, just seems to be kind of visceral and very, like, malicious. And you're kind of like, okay, is this the character? Is this person just trying to, like, go at me right now? Like, I know I'm not supposed to be offended. I know this is supposed to be a game, and I shouldn't be upset about this, but at the same time, I'm also someone who is incredibly patient and will always put my feelings off to the side for the sake of other person, or for the sake of not rocking the boat. So, at what point do I need to speak up and be like, hey, that hurt. I'm feeling bad emotions right now. This is not fun. Like, where is that line? When do you cross it? When do you say I'm being too sensitive? Where do you be like, I'm taking this too seriously? Which I know I do. I take everything of a fiction that I do very seriously. Not necessarily in a bad way, but just, you know, I commit. I care about, things I care about wholeheartedly. And I don't know how to be anything, like I said at the beginning of this, I don't know how to be anything less than me. So I don't know how to be, like, something I genuinely like, I will be genuine about. Something I don't like, I will just not say anything because I don't know how to genuinely be, insincere. Like, I remember talking that with my guard girls and being like, I was telling them, like, that they had a good run, or they did well, or it was like, I was praising them about something. I remember it was after a competition. I was praising them about something in their performance. And afterwards I said, see, told you. And they're like, oh, yeah, we just didn't believe you. I'm like, why didn't you believe me? I told you. If there's something good to be said, I will say it. If you have a problem, I will also say that. I'm like, I will not lie to you. And they're like, did you think I was just buttering you up to make you feel better? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, no. I'm like, I will always be straight with you. And if being straight with you would be cruel, then I'll just not say anything to you. I'm like, I'll always be straight with you. And that's why I'm like, I go and I talk to you straight. That's why I'm like, I wonder if I would be one of those teachers that would be like half feared, half loved, hopefully. But I'm like, I'll be straight with you and be like, this is good or this sucks. But I'm also going to be like, that is my genuine thoughts. There's no misinterpreting. There's no being flowery here. And I will always err on the side of lifting people up versus bringing them down. I'm like, I don't know any other way to be disingenuous. And I am not claiming to be perfect. I fall to emotion as much as anyone else. I have moments where I'm frustrated and angry and I might be a little spiteful, but generally, if I ever am doing something, I'm doing it all out. Which is honestly my problem half the time, is I care too much. I put my heart into everything, which means that, a lot of times I can get hurt over that. Or, like, I'll make myself more stressed than I need to because I care too much about doing it right. I remember I ran into that a lot when I used to work at Harris Teeter as a personal shopper. Is that, everyone at some point should work some sort of retail job. Because, at the very least, hopefully, you will start being a little kinder to the retail people that you work with. Because you realize how many people are just so inconsiderate and rude sometimes. Like, retail people are going through a lot for not enough pay and usually no benefits, especially if you're a part-time person like I was most of the time. Like, you're going through a lot. So, the one or two customers that genuinely will thank you for, like, loading their bags, or who greet you with a smile, or when you can't get them something, they have grace and be like, that's okay. Thank you for trying. Like, that means a lot. Genuinely. So that, like, because some people treat, like, retail people, like, with the worst attitudes, and then in turn, the retail people treat them with bad attitudes, and then we're just all unhappy at the end of the day. It's why I think about, like, how, like, Chick-fil-A got such a good reputation. It's because in their training, they have this training essentially to be polite, to wish people a good day, and therefore the customer leaves happier because then they feel like someone smiled at them and they feel like their day is a little better. Like, honestly, everywhere should be doing that, as long as it's being done genuinely. And if those people are not doing it genuinely, then you shouldn't hire them. That's why I think I could probably work at Chick-fil-A and be pretty happy, because I'm genuinely, again, my issue is that being on the spectrum, my face doesn't always express my emotions as well as it could. Or, like, my resting face will look very distressed. I have to actively think about smiling sometimes. Unless I am genuinely happy, in which case I smile very brightly, but I don't say much when I'm, like, thrilled about something. I'll just, you know, I might get worked up about something, too. And I might not show it, or I might really show it. But, like, you work in, retail or something like that. No, good luck. Every time I see a cashier that has a good attitude and has a smile on their face, I'm just like, I meet that in turn because I'm like, man, I'm sure you've been having a day. Especially if you work in clothes. And you're doing your best. So let me try and make your life not difficult at the very least by not being a difficult customer. Or even when you have a problem, go and be there and do it with grace and be like, hey, I know this isn't your fault, but I also have a problem, so could you help me deal with this? You know? And again, I stop at the end of this row and be like, okay, I'm sure I had a message here. I'm sure I had a point I was getting to, and now I cannot remember what the point was I was trying to make. And I'm like, dang it. Sure I had a point with all this, but I can't remember what it is now. Okay, one in a decrease. Alright. Hey. Man K 2020. 2022. 2022 was a better year for us than 2021. 2021 was a sucky year for us. We had so much death. And a fair amount of cancer stuff happening. And Happy New Year. It's hard to believe that it's only just January 2nd. I looked at the clock, and I don't know why I feel like the days have just been passing slower, but for some reason I thought it was much later than January 2nd. I could not believe, like, oh, yeah, New Year's was just like 2 days ago. I don't know why. January 3rd here. Oh, where are you from? Or more accurately, what time zone are you in? India. Oh, yeah, I guess you would be a bit ahead of us. I am in North Carolina, which is on the east coast of the United States. So we're in the Pacific time zone, I think. I did live in California for a little bit, which is 3 hours, 3 hours behind, I think. I don't know time zones. This is what, I know, like, the very basic of time zones, so that I know, like, you know, if Nintendo's gonna do, like, a Nintendo Direct or something like that, at 9 a.m. their time, I know that, like, that's, like, 6 a.m. here. Where I'm at right now it is 2:20 in the afternoon. So, just fascinating how time's different across the world. So it is a bit afternoon here. Gosh, what was I doing? Single and a decrease. Okay, sorry. 11 hours ahead? Yeah, that makes sense. My sister went to Japan once. And she was like 18 hours. Not 18, 13 hours, I think, ahead of us. So, like, when I had to talk to her while she was overseas, it would be, like, very late in the evening or very early in the morning in order to try and, like, sync up our schedules somewhat. Or I would, like, send her things before I went to bed, and then I could figure that, like, you know, she would see them in the morning or afternoon or whatever it was for her. Time zones can be crazy. Right now I'm making, a cork. So I got a couple of completed ones here. See? Like the top of a bottle. So these are for, I don't have any with me right now, but I make potion bottles that are dice bags for, like, D&D. It's like magic potions. So right now I'm making some cork toppers to go on top of these bottles I make. We have, a market. So they act like, like if you have a bag, you stick it in and that keeps, like, anything inside from falling out. So they're like, Yeah, they're just stoppers like on a bottle. I don't, unfortunately, have any bottles up here. I'll ask my sister to bring one up. Yeah. Typically I make plushies, but right now I'm just making, gosh. What is 29? Think so? Sometimes I lose track. I have to calculate out. I'm 2 years away from my sister, so as long as I can remember her age, I can remember my age. So, nearly 30. That was wrong. My hands are sweaty again, so I'm having trouble holding the yarn. Oh, thank you! I get that a lot, actually. I'm much younger than I look. Not be the first time. It's only awkward when you're going in to buy a lottery ticket or something and they card you at the door. I'm like, actually, I am so far beyond 18 at this point. You know, when I'm trying to get an M-rated game or something and they're like, can we see your ID, please? And I don't have my, like, thing on it. So that would be... Oh, that's my brother. I have, let's see. I have a younger sister who is my co-host. We stream games on Tuesday, so she's not here right now. She's prepping for our market, but she might be up later. She's my closest sibling. I'm the oldest of 4. So she's 2 years younger than me. Then I have a younger brother who you just saw coming in and out. He has a beard. And then I have a younger sister who's around here somewhere. And I have 4 dogs. So it's a crazy household we live in. Yep, see, there he is again. He's got a drum stand, I think. But, because, we all live in one house, so we share spaces. So it's not uncommon for us to kind of come in and come out and coexist and mingle and stuff. Okay, so siblings are, people that, like, you know, you have the same parents. Cousins are, like, the children of your parents' siblings. So, I guess they're, like, stage down from the siblings. So, funny, we were actually just talking about our cousins earlier on stream, because one of them, is in a bit of a crazy situation with a lady right now, so, yeah, they're kind of like, I guess you could say they're similar in a lot of ways, because, you know, cousins are, like, second stage siblings in a way, because, you know, like, my dad, for instance, he has, 7 siblings, I think. No, 6 siblings. He's of 7, I believe. So it means if any of his siblings have kids, then those would be my cousins. So I have a lot of cousins on my dad's side, because almost all of his siblings had at least 2. So there'd be a lot of siblings, and since we're all getting, Uday Kushwaha. Oh, you're on YouTube. Well, actually, that's good, because you are the first person to ever comment on the YouTube side of things. We stream to YouTube and Twitch regularly. You're the first person to ever actually say something from the YouTube side, so it's good to know that the YouTube chat part of the thing works. We've never actually tested that, because we've never had someone join the chat from the YouTube side. So that's good to know. 12. No. See, my hands keep getting clammy from how much I've been concentrating on this, so I keep missing my stitch. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, for, again, new to the streamers, I'm glad you found it. Anyone who's new to the chat, I stream on Twitch, but pretty regularly. Usually at some point during the day, I'll be doing a crochet stream, and in the evenings I try and do video games if I can. I just haven't a lot lately. Yeah, no, it's on a list of things to do. It's on a long list of things to do. We just started doing this maybe 4 months ago. So, We're still kind of building ourselves up. And we live very, very crazy lives. So all of our Twitch stuff is here. I usually go from here. But all of our past broadcasts are stored on YouTube. I would love at some point to go and, like, again, cut them up, make some shorts, and stuff like that. Just, it's been a very crazy fall. A lot of things that we didn't expect to be saddled with, we were saddled with, so it meant we did not have as much time to focus on stuff. I worked seasonally at the time with something that took up a bit of amount of time. So I just have been very busy and not had time to really sit down and be like, let me focus on this one project. That's also the beauty of having, again, like ADHD, autism, all that other stuff, is that your brain doesn't, on one hand, very well focuses on things. On the other hand, doesn't focus very well on things. I do quite a few things, but most pressingly, you could say I'm in childcare. Like I said, seasonally, I worked as a color guard instructor. So that's for marching band. And then, but otherwise, I nanny kids. So I do that half the time, and the other half the time, I am a preschool sub. My sister is a preschool teacher. She teaches 4-year-olds. So a lot of the time I sub in her classroom, because again, the two of us work really well together. Apparently it's not a normal thing for siblings, but we're very close, so we work really well together. Our personalities kind of just complement each other. So I sub for her. And then starting in, at the beginning of Monday is when I'm going to be taking on like a new responsibility in the preschool, where I'm going to be doing what's like called a floater. So it means I'll be doing like office work jobs. But I've done a lot of, we lived for a while in San Jose, was the closest thing. We were technically in a place called Morgan Hill. But we lived in the greater area of San Jose for 2 years. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, which is up north near the Great Lakes. You know where Lake Erie is, of the 5 Great Lakes we have. And then we lived in California for 2 years. So I've been on both coasts. I've stepped in both oceans. They're both very cold. I've stepped in a Great Lake. I've been to Niagara Falls. I've been to like essentially all the big bodies of water you can find in the U.S. In Canada. But we lived in California for a little while. And then we moved here. Because we essentially went from like the extreme snow area to the extreme heat area, and now we're in this kind of temperate area. Although North Carolina is also kind of weird because you can have like 3 different seasons in 1 week. You can have a heat wave, then have thunderstorms, then have like super windy, and then it'll go back to heat again in all of 1 week. Like, the weather can shift a lot. We've been having a lot of very thunderstormy sort of summers lately. So it can get pretty crazy. But I have been to San Diego a few times. I like San Francisco for the bridge and for the chowder. That was a fun place to be. From where we lived, we were like 3 hours away from Disneyland. So that was a popular place to go for like vacations. California was fine. The biggest thing that you don't realize by living there as opposed to visiting there is that is the seasons changing. California's seasons are very extreme. Like, we were in what you would call the northern part of California. So it meant that, like, we were in the part that, like, if you went up to the mountains, you could go skiing. Sort of thing. Like, we were not too far away from Lake Tahoe. So, like, in, like, the winter and stuff like that, it would be, like, could be, like, 20 degrees in the morning, then you would get to midday, and it would be up to 80. Like, there was such an extreme in temperatures based on when the sun was up. And, like, then, like, in the summer, like, the only time when you see picturesque things in California, those have to be taken in, like, mid-spring. Because as soon as we get to the summer and you're back to the 110 degree temperatures, like, everything turns brown. It looks like the Midwest or something. Everything's brown and lifeless. It's crazy. So it was pretty extreme temperatures. It also is very expensive to live out there. So that's why we only did it for 2 years. My dad went there for a job. That's how we got out of Pennsylvania, which is good because Erie, PA is practically a ghost town at this point. It's not... I'm assuming that's my friend coming in. She's helping us with our market. Oops. I was going so autopilot that I didn't realize I was doing the wrong kind of stitch. Yeah, you can hear my dog. Yeah. More likely, we have 4 of them, like I said. Normally the door is closed, but people are kind of coming and going right now, so you might be able to hear it a little bit better. That's my 2 male dogs, whose barks are very much bigger than their bites. They think they're so tough. But they actually are scaredy cats. But my one dog, they're all about medium-sized. So my one dog, he's loud. He's not aggressive at all. He doesn't really bite, but he's loud. So whenever he doesn't know what to do with himself, he just barks. And he's got a very echoing bark. So you can usually hear it from no matter where you are in the house, even if you're outside the house sometimes. So, like, yeah, that's one of our dogs. So I'm assuming our one friend who's helping us with our market right now is here. Because, that would be the reason why they would be here.
Uh-oh, boxes. Uh-oh, it's dirty.
See, this is my sister over here.
Hey-yo.
And extras.
In
And
extras.
we brought friends. Now you can see what the stream room looks like from the inside. We've got all of our stuffies. And if you want to come sit at my art desk, I got some toys up here I just got. You want to come
That's
look?
a very nice little cat thing you got going on there.
I was thinking about getting the same one. Up here, my
We
art
say
desk,
hi
I
about
just
from
got
persons.
some Freddy
Hello.
Fazbear's and a Stitch.
I was watching up until
Yeah, I can watch this.
We got in the
This
car.
is super cool.
That's fine.
well, and for about 45 minutes when they lost it, and I was like trying to finish the banner and get them to stop crying at the same time.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So I got
I do like you're all matching in the pink
Freddy's.
sweatshirts.
I know.
And
It wasn't
these
intentional until I walked
That works
outside. I was
better.
like, huh.
Open.
Yeah.
On the
We're
inside.
still trying to figure out how to get mine. My biggest issue is that, again, the sleeves weren't long enough, so it's good that it works for you.
I like the. I was
It's a nice sweatshirt. I just,
Yeah.
I knew, isn't it? I just knew it bothered me if I kept reaching my arms and my sleeves were always like this far. That would bother me.
I can see how, like, because this is big for me, and it still comes up when you put your arms up. So,
Yeah. So
probably just a pattern issue.
yeah, it's probably is. So I was, so I'm like, we'll find another one. Problem is it went out of stock, so now we're waiting for it to get back in stock. We're like, go figure.
Yeah.
Why not? I just can't have D&D merch.
Yeah.
You
You think I'd have so much more than I do?
It's
I
yeah.
have like 4 or 5 items of, like, you know, to wear.
It's weird, you know, that you. It's not an easy thing to get merch for, really, because it all looks.
stuff.
Well, yeah, it all looks the same.
Yeah.
That's why I found when I'm getting like Stitch stuff is that I'm like, I don't want the same 4 designs.
It's Simon.
I can try.
Simon.
Yeah, it's just like a stitch shirt that just says, "Oh,
Well,
huh."
that's why I got a lot more selective with like the Stitch stuff I got, because I'm like, I need to have stuff that looks different.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm wearing the same design that they just slightly recolored each time. So like, you know.
I like that one with the patches. That's cool.
Yeah, this is one another one Malin got me because she got me a bunch of. This one also zips, which is nice. I had to put this on because we had the chroma key on, so I have a green shirt on, so it would be like, hey, look, I'm invisible.
Yeah. Or you do it on purpose, and then you could have cool stuff on your shirt.
Yeah, dude.
Well, I know, they freak you out. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
it's
he's a freaky guy.
Yeah, it's
just men.
okay. So are our dogs. We're a very female-run household. It's like, I don't know. I just want to gesture.
Yeah.
You have more movement in your hand right now than Olivia does, and then Malin does. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's why I can't brought all this stuff and help her clean up and set up and stuff. I know, baby. She's like, wait.
Yeah,
She's also
I got this
sleeping.
unicorn and I got some Freddy's.
Yeah,
I know, isn't that one so nice, dude?
but I was just
Freaking cool. I got a little pet shop I just got
we
yesterday.
are just kind of all like jiving right now and just speaking all our like anxiety and insecurities to get through the day. Sort of,
Wow,
it's
guys
that kind
are
of
so
day.
super cool and awesome.
And I'm just like going back and forth, and every so often I'll stop and be like, what was I doing?
Yeah.
I'll pause while I'm talking about them, completely forget what my hands were doing, so I'll stop and stare at it and be like, what am I doing right now?
I think it's crazy that you can do that and talk at the same time, because I can't count and do anything at the same time.
Well, that's the thing, is that like,
Not for me.
it's a pattern I know, so
Yeah.
in most of the cases,
Awesome, dude.
it's I'm just doing a row, or if I'm doing like an alternation, then I just have to remember which alternate I can, but that's also why I can't stop in the middle, because then I'll be like, okay, what was I doing?
No, not that one.
No.
Which one looks cool?
Or maybe like
Jack
Play-Doh
Skellington
sand?
looks cool. I agree. He does look.
It's like Play-Doh
I
sand.
got 2 of them.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like sticky.
They look at all the cool stuff.
You can poke it.
Play-Doh sand.
Do you want to poke it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's bigger than you are. I don't think you can pick that one up.
Oh, she's like, I don't know these freaks. Who are these people? Hi.
Babies for a stream.
Like, no, I don't have my makeup on.
Famous.
I don't have my makeup on. What you have to do is kind of like get in front of where I am because Madeline like cropped it along the side, so it's like
Yeah,
you think it can see farther than it can, but you
I
have to
know,
like
it's like,
get in
ugh.
front of the camera in order to be seen.
feel like I
You
was-
want to see Freddy Fazbear's Chica. You
That's
want to
cute.
see Chica. I took off all the paint to repaint it eventually.
I thought I came like that. That's sick.
I know, you should just sell them like that,
If
Madeline.
I'm like this, and I was cleaning
It's
it
like a
off the
ghost.
paint. So I was just gonna paint.
It's
it out
haunted.
eventually.
What
I have
you-
doubles of all
Who
of
you
this.
paint
Yeah.
in the die?
I'm gonna
These are
paint
really
these.
Originally when we made this stream, normally,
Why are you
I have a green
painting
screen
a
up
tiny bit?
behind me. You can't see right now. We left it down for now. Normally I have a green screen up, and so we cropped it to how big the green screen is, so that I could put like a background. And like normally I'll play like some sort of ambiance in the background, so I could be like, you know, in a castle or with fantasy stuff, or I did holiday for Christmas. So normally we fit the screen to that side of like the green screen. So that's what's normally cropped.
These are from Walmart.
Typically, actually, when Madeline's here and playing with me, we actually have to widen it so we can fit her in the chair and me at the same time. But like right now, it's cropped because this is typically we have a green screen up. It's the long and the short of it. But it's down right now because Madeline said we should show off our plushies. And the funny thing is you can't even see all of them right now. Like you can see probably 10% of the plushies I have around me right now. I have probably 30 some around me at the moment, and a lot of yarn on the floor.
And for $5.
Again, probably the same reason that we don't have shorts yet.
Look.
I haven't had time. And the funny thing is, my degree I went to college for is like communications, graphic design, media design. So I know how to make them. I'm very skilled in Photoshop. I just
Look, Madeline.
haven't had time. That's the biggest thing that I want to do going forward in the new year, kind of if you want to go resolution sort of thing. I want to get more into the editing side of things and go into the streams, cut down the dead time, re-upload them to YouTube with like proper thumbnails, proper like tags, those sort of things. Hey, hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
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 You like all Madeline's toys?
Yeah, but today, I'm going to play with water toy because I got a lot of new toys to came there.
When you look at it in here, like it goes clear. It's like it
Rockstar,
disappears.
San Diego. Like in general, like a Rockstar, or like a Rockstar, like a company.
Yeah. You can go crazy because this desk is really easy to clean.
Less, am I thinking?
All over it right now. Like, glue stick.
It's like I
Is this squinty?
no Rockstar is.
Yeah.
It's not Rockstar is in the
You can play
video game
with
one. I think
it,
that's Rocksteady.
Look,
Rocks-
Mom.
Rockstar.
Open
Oh,
it.
so it is the yeah
Open
Rockstar.
it like this.
I love those.
What games are it that Rockstar does again?
Do it. Do it, Mom.
I know. That's pretty cool. Game development's fun.
I feel like that's like GTA.
Yeah.
I think like
Yeah, I was like, I figure it's one of those like open ones.
Do they do Tony Hawk?
Maybe
maybe.
I can't remember.
GTA. Yeah,
That's what I thought they
that's what they said. Yeah, GTA, Red Dead Redemption. I do want to play Red Dead Redemption at some point because a lot of people have said it's like, you know, one of those 10 out of 10 game experiences you have to play at some point. I do not own it currently though. I own like 518 other games
I don't want
of varying qualities.
You can just leave.
So like it's one of those games I will probably play at some point in my life, but right now I'm trying to work through the rest of my backlogs. 11 out, yeah. I've heard a lot of good things about it. So it's one of those things that like, if I ever find the opportunity to buy it, or you know, someone gifts it to me, then I'll play it. But I'm like, I got so many other games right now I need to play through.
Whoa, but I know what
Like
it
that's
does.
the other thing that I do kind of in the middle, in between like crocheting and other stuff, is that I'm going to go and go through my backlog and start figuring out. The problem is I have a lot of JRPGs. I'm very big into story-based games,
Oh girl, that one's my favorite.
so
too.
I have a lot of JRPGs which just generally take a little longer to play, which I'm fine with. You know, I played Persona 5 3 times.
Is this dice tower?
Yeah. Eventually it's for Olivia once I start cleaning them. That's a
See, I don't have,
project.
I don't think I've ever, I think the only game I've ever bought on Steam was like the original Knights. Yeah, I tend, when I buy new games, unless it's like a new release, I tend to only buy on sale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
I was looking
8,
at
9,
videos
10,
like
11, 12,
2024
13,
recap, and
14,
like at the
15.
beginning of the year, we have one where she just crawled over the bed. And she was so proud of herself, and now
Mate,
she's
this is
talking.
13.
I'm like,
Show it.
that's crazy.
But so like
It is squishy.
I don't essentially
Ellie got
because the thing is like
scissors.
well I guess it isn't obvious because I'm
I know. I was like, I want it.
we are like very much console gamers because all of our computers like are laptops, so most of the stuff we have is not very strong. So like
Oh, I took a peek.
we have like we play on like consoles, so like that, I remember one time we were playing a game that was like for the GameCube, and someone like was asking us about it, and we're like, oh no, it's like, are you playing on an emulator? I'm like, no, we're playing on the Wii. You're like, wait, on an actual Wii? I'm like, yes, we dusted it off. We have a Wii, we have a GameCube. Yes, we do.
I can clear up with like.
We have a pretty large house. It's pretty popular in this area actually because let me tell you something. Renters like even renting things nowadays. The market is so crazy. You can like with the amount that they're paying for jobs here, like you cannot live on that. You cannot own property, and it's so difficult to rent. So yeah, I live with my parents. We essentially kind of own the upper floors. And yes, hey, if I could, I would, honestly. And I'm fine with it too, because I'm like, I watch the dogs. I do like the dishes. I'm providing use to my family. You know. I'm trying to earn my keep. I still do it, and like it's we're still working and stuff like that. I'm just in the lovely bracket where I can get like Medicaid and stuff like that because I'm making so little a year. It's clearly not enough. And to be fair, also though, educators are not paid well in North Carolina. They are in some states, not paid well in North Carolina, unless you're like at the college level. So like if you're an educator, you usually have another job to try and make ends meet. So it is what it is. But I don't mind it. Like I said, I've lived with, my sister and I share a room. We have essentially since she was born. So I'm used to living with other people. So actually living entirely by myself might be a little unnerving. Because I wouldn't be used to it. So I don't mind it at all. But, it means that usually it is loud around here. So, like, you ever get any feedback on the mic, that's what it is for. We just got a lot of people around us. So, we do, and we got like a basement, which is where I like do D&D stuff and things like that. Okay, I need to do single now. Nope, I'm not actually. I mentioned before, I think I mentioned earlier in the stream, but like, I've been in a couple like relationships accidentally, but no, I'm in no relationship of any kind. Probably will not be for foreseeable future. I'm more of a companionship sort of character. So like,
and we have here's a little desk.
So I'm kind of like, not really interested in dating, not really interested in long-term relationships. My life's a little too crazy right now. And even besides that, like, I'm someone who's also on the spectrum, so I'm kind of like, I'm not great at reading people either. So, honestly, strong friendships are where it's at. That's the sort of thing I can do. And then obviously, I've lived with my sister for a while, because we just kind of work with each other, so we balance each other out really well. So, like, we're probably just going to live with each other for the rest of our lives, just because, like, that's what is comfortable for us. So, yeah. Other reason I don't live by myself. I don't have any second source of income. But, I've stumbled into a handful of relationships. They all went weirdly. I'm also, again, I can relate that probably to more of the spectrum stuff, where I'm just like, I don't read things very well. I have trouble understanding humans sometimes. So I might be from another planet, but I almost forgot to put the stuffing in this thing.
I heard here.
You heard heard the call of the small children? Now she's only stinky in personality. If you saw the person pass by the camera, that's my other sibling. So oddly enough, right now I have my entire siblings in here. All of them are in here right now. Off camera, so. But This room just keeps getting busier. I got 3 siblings,
Okay.
1 friend, and her kids. So there's like 8 people in this room right now.
Yeah, because I only have one hand.
So it's a party.
Why do you have
I'm in a party stream right now.
Because I got a boo-boo. It's okay.
Why do you get it?
I got boo-boos. Always accident. Happens to
This
us.
is
Definitely aimed at Elliot.
What?
She said, longer streamers were black sharpies. I tried asking verbally, but there's so
Well,
many
only from
things
because
in
I'm-
ears that
yeah.
people can't
Well, that makes
hear.
sense. I always have to wonder what it would be like to be an only child because again, I'm the oldest of 4, so I've always been like I always have siblings. I've always been used to, and also I have a lot of cousins. And for until we moved to California, we all lived in essentially the same like city. So I've always been used to having a crowd,
I don't see
but like,
I see a paint thing.
uh,
A black paint thing.
well, I mean, yeah, I try not to overshare just because I think it bothers people, but I'm not bothered because nothing I haven't said online before.
Dead water.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
It says you don't have to share anything. I'm like, anything I'm saying is because I feel like saying it.
I'm going to share, and you're gonna have to listen.
That's my sister. That's the one I've been talking about. She's my co-host.
I live alone only from my
She-
birth because I'm the only child. You just don't have to share anything. Oh, they meant you don't have to share anything as an only child.
Oh,
See, this is why we work
this
together.
this is why. Yeah, this is why I have her. She interprets human for me
Why?
because I miss things. I interpret that differently. That was sister. She's like if you read the blurb underneath her channel, she's the when I say 2 neurodivergent sisters, she's the other one.
In the game.
So she comes on from time to time. She comes in here to help me understand other humans because I sometimes don't understand other humans, like I just did now. So it's all not an act. I am entirely this kind of weird. And I almost threw my scissors into my leg,
The water turned warm.
which is great.
And when.
Now I gotta sew up this cork,
The water can turn.
and I'll have at least 1 cork left over when I'm
Is it the opposite of
making potion bottles.
Yeah.
So we got a market later on, so we're gonna go and sell all my little creations.
You can't undo it because if you did that.
I wish I had one around here, but I don't think I do right now.
That makes so much sense. It makes so much sense.
So don't go onto it like this.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
I
No, don't eat him.
I don't know.
I went to college and I have a bachelor's in writing and in graphic design.
It looks kind of like the Barbie.
So I've studied kind of a little bit of all the art fields and a lot of the humanities. So I know a thing or two about literature and writing and graphic design. I actually originally started out as a game developer thing because where I live there's only like one college that has like a game developer as a bachelor's of arts program. And so I actually started out in game development. And while I was good enough at it, it was not really where my passions were at. Because I obviously very much love video games. Incredibly passionate about them. So, like, I'm constantly, like, ranting and raving and being like, video games are such a unique medium and, the things that you can tell in a video game that you can't tell in other sort of stories and stuff like that. So, I love video games. So I started out originally in game development, in simulation, but,
Actually, I have a paper towel.
like, yeah, we should have one around here because we had to clean up that last thing. So, so I did originally start there. And then, once you got, I was fine with, like, the development part of it, but then once you got into, like, the hard mechanical stuff, I'm like, I don't have enough of a math brain to be good at, like, coding and, creating stuff. I did a game jam once, and I won something in that, but, I'm more of the artistic side. This artistic and writing part. Not a whole lot. I've been more of an English person, and a bit more of an artistic person. I've never taken physics. I took chemistry briefly. That was fine. I'm not very interested in math, just because it feels like if you had to like relate to like push-ups or something, where it's like on paper it's important, it's necessary, it's good to know, and it's good for you. But I'm not just. It doesn't interest my brain, and because my brain is constantly seeking stimulation, anything that doesn't directly interest it, it's like I can do it. I'm fine with it. But it's not where I can go and be like, I can wax poetic that. 32 times 32. I don't know. I can't do that kind of math in my head. I'm a calculated person. I've gone so lazy.
32 plus 32.
32
Yeah.
times 32.
Times.
Calculator.
now
please.
everyone in the room's trying to figure it
I'm
out.
following you. I'm following you.
This to me.
Turn right.
Everyone else in the room is trying to figure out now your question. You're like, what is this? None of us know math. We are all art brains.
I ask people at our table to do simple math when I'm just trying to.
I know we're trying to do math in a D&D format where we're trying to be like, okay, 16 divided by 2 is, or like,
34 on a performance check the other day.
or like she's like, okay, I got a 17 plus a 6 modifier. What is that? You know, like very basic math. I don't know.
Hey.
30.
What are you doing? Oh, candles. I'm just gonna pull it back.
I would have to do that on paper. I could do it on paper. Probably, but
1024.
she says 1024. Totally not with the calculator.
Huh?
You can play toys, and then I'm gonna wipe off my shelf for a couple minutes, and you can hang out here with Evie.
People,
and play toys.
I am, we have one person in our D&D group who's more of a math brain, and like people who can just add up sums in their head on their own is really impressive. That's why I say, like, I unfortunately did not get the math kind of autism. I got the super obsessed with Pokemon sort of autism. So I can remember every fact about Pokemon that exists and probably name any Pokemon for you and probably draw it by memory and name stats / moves and type disadvantages and advantages and like factoids about every generation of Pokemon in every game and stuff about the manga and the anime. In fact, I often do when I'm streaming, but yeah, I don't got math brain, unfortunately. That would have been the useful kind of autism to get. It's the one that where you're like really good at math and sciences and engineering because you could actually make a career out of that. No, I got the artistic version of it. So I can analyze literature.
I'll be back in just a little bit.
I analyze story a lot when we play games.
Okay, you hang out here, Missy.
Um,
I'm gonna wipe off the thing really quick.
I think if I want to do another cork, if I want to start doing another one. So hypothetically, I should just keep making corks.
How many do you have left to do?
Well, I already made 3, so I now have 4.
Nice.
So I don't need to make any more. 30 times 30 plus 30 times 2 plus 2 times 32. So I know that I I know, yeah, that's hardcore math. So like I know like things in parentheses are separate from things outside the parentheses, and like I don't know. There's like an order of applications, like, you know, you do division, addition, multiplication in a certain order. I knew all that when I was in school. I was in school like, gosh, how long has it been now?
High school or college?
College.
7? No. Yeah. No. I don't. Let's see. Can't even math that way.
I've been out of school for at least 6 years.
At least 6.
At least 6. At minimum 4. So, like, I've not taken a math class in so many years, I can't.
Did you graduate 18? From college?
Yeah, because high school was 14.
6.
6. Okay. See, I'm trying to figure out how much of an age gap I have between, like, me and my brother, and I'm sitting there and being like, what year was he born in? So it's just like, no, I don't have the math brain. It'd probably be more useful to have the math brain, but I do not have the math brain. So the question is, do I make another cork, or do I make a plushie?
You have all the quirks you need to make a plushie.
Because I got those in front of me right now. I can make...
Make them as small.
I don't have anything small, unfortunately.
You have so many. Well, I guess if you learn any pattern, that'd be a little bit harder. Hey, what? This.
So let me see what I got here.
You can start something that you could easily work on tomorrow, so you could zone out.
I don't plan to do much zoning. Yeah, I guess I could start on a Chica. It doesn't take too long. So I can find the end of this yarn. Very soft yarn, just my hands are clammy right now, so it's sticking to everything. Where's the end of this? If you heard that, that was my stomach growling, so I need to probably get some crackers. Okay. Can at the very least start on this cheek, I suppose. I need to switch out my needles. No, I mean, the beautiful thing about sometimes having that sort of, like, the neurodivergent brains is that, like, when you're really into something, you can really get into it. For better or worse. But, like, you know, things that your brain's, like, not into, they're just like, nope, you don't need that information. You're never going to need that information. I'm like, but I need to in order to survive in life. And they're like, no, you just don't worry about it. So, yeah, the most math I can do is, like, ×2. Because that is something I regularly use in video games. So I can, you know, sometimes I can do a ×2 sort of thing. But, like, not very often. I could, although if you ask me to, like, you know, define random vocabulary, or like, I feel like I'll be a very good beta reader for like fanfic people because I'm very good at catching grammar stuff. So sometimes I just want to be like, or I'll like go and be like the people who go and like put stories, be like, no beta, and I'm like, oh boy, it's gonna be a ride, isn't it? We try and ignore the fact that you're using these words wrong. Which honestly, you know, anyone who's trying to figure out English as a not native English speaker, my hat's off to you, because most English speakers here can't figure out English. And they've never known another language. So if you're you have a different language you speak, and then you're trying to figure out English in addition to that, like, best of luck to you. Especially if you're someone who's, like, not just trying to learn how to speak it, but you're trying to learn how to write it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Most people here don't even know how to write English. It's not in the way. And also because we have the American English, so, like, we essentially have a bunch of rules, and then for 50% of them, we're like, but only half the time. I mean, you've been doing pretty good from what I can see in the chat, so, you know. Again, a lot of people here who speak it normally can only do about 50% of it, so. I think also if you learn it as another language, you're more committed to trying to get it right. Like, I think the people here just are like, communication skills, who needs them? Not to mention, like, there's so many different forms of writing, like, writing for a novel versus writing for an email versus writing for, like, a, you know, social post and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot to writing on its own. That's how, like, you can have, like, a writing degree and be like, there's, like, 16 different kinds of writing. Like, I know how to, on paper, write a, social post and all the things and hashtags and junk.
It's totally different. It's crazy.
Well, the biggest issue about it is that I'm doing it and being like, I feel like such a robot right now. How is this a social thing? This feels like so mechanical and lifeless. Tell me, what sort of things do you do as physics, like, stuff? 3D modeling and stuff? My sister wanted to get into modeling. She took a modeling course, and then, like, the COVID happened. So she didn't... So, like, she unfortunately, like, graduated when COVID started. So, like, that was her year to graduate. Yeah, she wants to learn how to do... what software do you use? Because she wants to learn how to do 3D modeling at some point, because she's been doing, like, 3D printing. So she would like to eventually make her own 3D models to print, to, like, make figures and stuff. So, like, what sort of, like, software and stuff do you... I'm not sure, like, 3D modeling is probably different than video game 3D modeling, but, you know. Like, what sort of things do you like to do? In terms of that. If I did it, I would just be making Pokemon all day.
Be making Will.
My issue is that sometimes, like, I start with Blender and switching to ZBrush and Maya. I hear a lot of people do start with Blender, too. I think that's what Mallory start with, at least. I've heard of Maya. I don't think I've heard of ZBrush. See, the most I've ever done is I do, like, I can digital art, so I can draw. Like, I'll do art. I did a lot of Photoshop, but Photoshop is honestly very expensive lately, so I've been doing more in Clip Studio. When I do that, I think I did a drawing stream once. I was just trying to figure, like, hey, if I wanted a YouTube icon, like a talking head, what sort of thing would I make? Because I won't draw a human, so what sort of creature would I make? I came up with some interesting ideas. I mean, we have our Etsy shop, Dusk Drops, which is where I go and sell my crocheted stuff. I think its icon is pretty much just a Lugia from Pokemon because,
Do a peace sign.
yeah, exactly. Because we're peaceful. Oh, that's nice. I guess our problem is that since I don't have it attached to like a job or anything like that, I can't justify as much, or like, you know, education anymore at least. I can't justify as much having all the paid software, so lately I'm kind of just like, what options are there? We bought the license for Clip Studio like most recently, and then we're like, and that's all we're gonna do. Like, because also the thing is that I feel like a lot of times when you have like certain softwares, like depending on what you're trying to do it for, a lot of people will go and do it and be like, I'm going to use this one tool and I'm never going to use anything else. Well, my sister will go and she'll be drawing and she'll be using different brushes and the fade effects and, you know, all the other cool stuff. Oh, those are squishy. But, like, and I'll go in and use artwork and I'll be like, I'm going to use this one singular brush and nothing else. Even though I probably could get much better artwork if I learned how to use textures and other packs and stuff. You know, I'm kind of like the thing, like, I know how to do this one thing really well, and I'm not going to expand outwards. That's what I've kind of been doing with crochet lately. I'm like, I have so many patterns to learn. But what I just did is kept doing these same 3 patterns over and over again, and just variated them a little bit each time.
But people love them.
Well, that's also kind of the thing that like keeps me from trying new things is I go and be like, well, but this thing works. Do you see my little Godzilla I had in the counter downstairs?
I didn't. We came in real quick. I need to look at. I'm gonna go back down there and help her do setup and stuff. I'm gonna look at all the inventory you have.
So I was making a Godzilla the other day. It's one of the patterns I got. His spikes still need to be sewn on, which my mom said to do. Have I done any physics? No, I don't believe I actually have done any physics. What exactly do you study in physics? Is it just like how things move and like how like it's? I assume it's for like engineering and stuff. Figuring out. Like she's just using you as a table right now.
Literally always. I'm never not touched.
You're getting so confident on those legs. I imagine it's probably like, you know, since it's a science sort of thing, I imagine it's very much one of those sort of like for instance, like I know art stuff, so like knowing things like color theory, like I can use in a lot of different situations.
Don't follow your sister. Where are you going?
She's like, well, she went that way, so clearly she's going to find something interesting.
No.
She's like, but my sister's leaving.
Yeah, she's fine. She can go find Madeline, but not you. You can't do this.
Found her. Well, stay in here, please. Or I think Madeline's in the garage if you want to find her.
I love once babies learn how to walk because then they're just like, I can take on anything. And you're like, no, the stairs are taller than you are.
Downstairs.
Like,
The doggies are in their cage. It's fine.
yeah,
And Miss Laura's downstairs.
they've mostly been in their cages because they fought with each other twice within the last 3 days. So right now they're in kind of isolationist things. And to be fair, like that one weekend that we had to like kind of, when Ellie and Holly were here the whole time, and we could only like pop in for like an hour or 2 at a time, they were fine. You let them out, they go pee, you feed them, you give them maybe an hour to run around, and they put them back, but they're very, like, they sleep most of the day, so doing that in their crates is not going to hurt them.
They have big crates too.
They do have
There's
very
a
big crates.
difference, so, like,
Yeah, they have, Piper can do laps in hers. Like, they'll be fine. They're going to be good. But, I just like, when you see, I'm just looking out of the corner of my eye, and I'm just like, hey, look, runaway baby.
yeah.
She is booking it. I remember one time my brother brought up, like, you know, we were talking about, like, trying to chase kids in preschool, and he's like, it can't be that hard. Little kids can't go that fast. And clearly you've never tried to catch a runaway child.
It's just because they run with no hesitation.
Exactly.
Look at her. I know she went downstairs. Sit down. We'll go downstairs in a second. Sit down. Oh no, he looked at you.
But, like, have you ever tried to catch a runaway 3-year-old? They can book it. And yes, by, like, logic, you would think you with the longer legs / the more balance would be able to catch them. But I'm like, that's the thing that I was like, you can show that my brother is not really interacting with kids much.
talking over.
Are you having fun with those little squishy things? Do you like those? Chatty today.
Yeah.
That's one thing you can tell my brother's like not really works with kids at all. But he's like, yeah, you can catch a kid if they're running away. I'm like, you clearly have never tried to catch a runaway kid. They are gone. I like watching videos on YouTube that like, if you know, it's like someone who's like trying to catch like a 4-year-old that's running away, and they're just like, they just don't stop. There's no breaks. Once they figure out how to do the legs, they're just like, look how fast I can go now.
It's crazy.
It is funny though, because then you can just kind of swoop them up, and they're like, wait, my locomotion is gone.
Well, like if I carry her up the stairs, she just runs as if she was walking up the stairs.
Yeah.
They just go.
They're just like, I figured out how to do this walking thing, and I am so powerful now. No, I also think it's funny is whenever, like, you know, like she did, like, you know, even when you couldn't figure out how to do it, like, I figured she'd be a sprinter, because even when she couldn't walk, she just, like, rolled everywhere, and I'm like, you're figuring out motion before you even figured out how to do, like, the legs.
No, thank you.
You're gonna be a runner.
You lost that privilege. Thank you.
Darn it.
No, you lost that privilege. Yep, sorry. There you go, pie now. I'm not gonna pick at him.
It's like, but Mom, I want to test the limits of these physical objects.
You found it. Look, your favorite, a candle.
It's like, I'm just testing my physical force upon this object. I'm doing physics right now.
Smells good.
Babies are entertaining to watch. Not enough that, like, again, we work in childcare, so that definitely dissuades you from ever wanting to have the babies when you have to deal with, like, 10 of them all day. But, it's good to be like, hey, I can go and enjoy this child, and then I can send it home. Or I can go and not enjoy this child, and then I can send it home.
I know.
Like, I have dogs. That's why I got my mom. Like, you have grandpuppies. If you ever have grandkids, it's not going to be from me or Madeline. Because Madeline just, like, works with kids every day, and she's like, man, I never want to have children ever. But, like, if there is going to happen, it's probably going to be my brother. Realistically speaking.
See your bum.
Just as long as it's not like my cousins, and we actually happen it when it was meant to happen. You know. Hopefully he doesn't become another one of the stories of, like, oops. But, I'm like, as long as it happens the way it's meant to be happening, and you intended to have that child, then it's fine. But lately, our track record is 50-50 for our cousins. In terms of some of them, we intended them to have. The other ones did not. My sister can give you that whole story, I'm sure.
Yeah, I will be going.
We just all heard that last night, because you had to call my cousin up, who's like, I have stuff to share with you, and my sister's like, oh, do tell, let me put you on speakerphone. Because we always hear these sort of stories, and we're like, the things that we hear from our people, like, again, we're in the South, but you think we have all these, like, Southern hick cousins up there. That's why it's, like, kind of like, most of the standards you put on Southern people are actually very applicable to the North. And then everyone up North wants to be Southern.
There's hillbillies everywhere.
Well, I just think it's funny how many of them are, like, playing, like, all, like, they wear the Southern stuff, they have the Southern names, they're playing the Southern music, and I'm just like, you guys are such posers. This is the North. Do some Northern stuff. Yeah. I always wonder, though, like, there people say, like, you guys have Northern accents. I'm like, what even is a Northern accent?
No.
I know what a New York accent sounds like, and I know what it, like, to some extent a New Jersey accent sounds like. And, like, you know, I know some North-isms, like pop, instead of soda, but, like, whenever they're like, you sound like a Northern accent, I'm like, what even is that? If anything, I might have that, maybe my sister, but, like, the other two were just way too young to pick up an accent at that point. Olivia's some variation of Southern, because she definitely says some weird words, but, like, she's not really Southern. It's always weird when you hear, like, a really Southern accent, and you're like, wow, I didn't know those really existed. I'm listening to the one...
I'll do Thanksgiving with my family.
But, we'll go and, I'm doing the one... There's my dogs again. funny thing is that probably is just my sister coming through a door or something. Like, my dog's, like, my one oldest dog has taught all the rest of them, like, you ever hear any suspicious noise, we're probably being invaded, so bark really loudly. Because definitely our house is never going to get robbed, at least not subtly, because the moment any noise happens, they start barking.
What did you find? I don't know what this is. It's just an empty container. There's nothing in it.
I think it's a box.
Can we open it? No. There's nothing in it. You just don't put it together? You can do that too.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Funny thing is, that's probably just Malin coming in and out. He's just like, but people.
Or Willow walking around the house.
The funny thing is that Gus is so loud, but he's really not, like, he'll run first. Definitely very much bark louder than the bite. And then Freya, who does bite, just screams. She doesn't really have much of a bark. She sounds like she's, like, very yippy terrier. So.
Sit your bum. Sit your bum. Put it in there. Uh-oh. What are you doing?
It's like, alright, well, maybe I will.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, no man.
She's like, it's like, why aren't you looking at me right now?
Do you want me to go take you to find sister? Okay, can I cut these last clips? Okay. She understands. It's crazy. She just doesn't like to listen.
It's okay, I don't think that goes away at any point in life.
No, definitely not.
But, what was, I was gonna say something about Elliot, now I forget. It was probably something about something he did in high school.
Call him a punk.
Well, we're fine with calling him that at any given point. That's why I'm like, I'm kind of glad he doesn't follow us, because I'm like, we rant about you a lot.
Looks like Will sitting here earlier.
I don't mind. I go and was trying to be very kind to him and stuff like that, and he talks trash about me behind my back. I'm like, do you know how hard I try and coexist with you people? I think of all the people, Malin goes ready to fight anytime you speak to her, like, and yet you're complaining about me doing stuff? The biggest thing is because he drives me to where I go to nanny, so twice a week I require him to get up at 9 o'clock, drive me over, a 15-minute drive, and come back. It's really upsetting his schedule, you know. And it's not like he, could sleep, at any point in the nighttime and not be so exhausted, but... And he's like, I'm not getting paid to drive her around. I'm like, I asked you to drive 15 minutes twice a week. And then you can come back and go right back to bed. It's very much, very taxing. And, and the thing is that, like, the whole time, I'm like, I'm very grateful he does that. And I'm thinking, like, the whole time I'm going there being, like, thinking about, like, I wonder what I can make him for a present for Christmas. As thank you for, giving me these rides. I'm like, maybe I'll make him, like, a taxi cab, I'll crochet him something. And then my mom's like, oh yeah, he's, talking about how much he, he's talking about, like, oh, I'm not getting paid, I don't get to do this. And he's complaining behind my back, and I'm just like, I thank him every morning. And I don't ever really rush him, except for when we're, like, really running late, which we definitely were the last week before the holidays. And, like, I don't force him to do anything. I let him get coffee if he needs to get it. I'm like, I'm very, like, accommodating, and yet the whole time he's just, like, grumbling about it. I'm like, well, maybe I'm not making you anything for Christmas. I got a lot of things I wanted to make for Christmas, but just did not happen. Told Mally, when we ever do something again, we are not doing a January... You're not doing a January market again. Just because...
To see the like, crowd, like, just, immediately post-holidays.
Yeah.
I mean, people will be there, but...
But it's just, it's so...
I'm so interested.
So I'll be curious to see.
So on one hand you got, oh man, we just had to buy so many presents and stuff. I'm not gonna buy stuff. And then you got the, oh, I just got Christmas money, you know?
Yeah, the two crowds. I just hope our stuff sells. Mallory's very concerned about making back the booth. And I told her, I'm like, if we at least sell all my stuff, and I tend to sell my things for like $25 to $30, that should make us back $400 if everything sells. But obviously we're still concerned, so. And also I'm like, and that's not even adding in the fact that people will probably want to buy some of your paintings. Because you made a lot of has-been stuff, and, you know, jewelry, people like jewelry. So I'm
I
like,
think the has-been stuff's gonna do really well.
I think we'll too.
Because they got a bunch of the voice actors going.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing is I'm like, all we need to break even realistically is, I think she's got a marker.
Hey, what you got?
That face of like, oh.
I was caught. I know, baby. Let me finish.
She's like, she scared me.
Aw. You ratchet out, baby. You should ratchet out.
I wouldn't have sold you out if you went for a pencil. Just you went for the paint marker, and I know that probably would not end well. I'm like, if we at least sell all the stuff I have, that should be enough. Also,
get some commissions or something on the horizon.
Yeah. The biggest thing also was the fact that, again, I had, like, working the fall months, I was, like, doing a lot of orders that I had. So I was, like, I wasn't preparing stuff for this. Malin was dying. I was dying. My mom was dying. So fall was that's not a great time. So we're like, if we ever do this again, we do not do it market this early in the year. Because, again, we've tried working so much this whole break, and then, you know, stuff happens, like Malin getting mauled by a small bear. We were literally like 10 minutes before that we're heading to brunch.
Oh.
And so they're like, and then all of a sudden we're like, okay, now Malin's bleeding on the floor.
And that just becomes your whole day.
Yep, she got to go to the emergency room.
How long were y'all there?
Fun. She said, I think she said 2.5 hours.
That's actually not that bad.
Yeah, that's what she said. And I was here making a small Godzilla, so. And I definitely, I was also playing on Genshin Impact and to get a character, and I'm not saying how much money I spent to do so.
You can tell me all the things because I'm actually really curious.
About as much as I spent to get the character the first time, so. Clearly this guy just hates me. 'Cause I got the other guy easier. This was one I'm like, I had to do this last time, I got you too. Are you just determined to draw blood from me?
You're making fun of her. What are you doing?
She's having fun with that rapper, you know. I think that's actually Malin's like emergency band from the ER.
I was like, I remember having one of these.
There's one of. Also, the thing is like I don't have a math brain, but I definitely look at things in a very mathematic sort of like cost benefit sort of thing. So it was one of those things where I'm like, I could have passed on it, but I was also like thinking about like, okay. Knowing how these pay systems work and these gacha games work, should I spend money now to actually get something out of it that I want, as opposed to like holding off for later and getting something I don't want? I'm feeling like it's a waste. I'm looking at all my... Looking at all my messages now. Probably take a break to eat lunch soon. Because otherwise I'm just standing off handfuls of goldfish here. So I'm trying to lean away when I snack, but I'm also getting hungry. Now I need to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hey, Milo.
Hi, I'm checking on you.
That's very nice of you.
I got water.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. When you're being checked on by a 4-year-old, you know you got it pretty good. Increase. 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 2. Increase. 3. I'm assuming that she was coming reporting up for my sister asking how I was doing. $18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Increase. 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 2. Increase. 3. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. Switch yarns here, and then I think I will take a recess to eat. So I'm getting hungry, so I think a color switch is a good place to finish off here. Appreciate all the new people we've had to the stream, though. It's nice seeing some new faces and chatting with some new people. Because that is what we always have here, is as far as the small streamer experience and stuff like that. So I just want to kind of get to know people. Want to talk to people, hear about their lives. So it's kind of why I do this. It's kind of why I don't mind that we're kind of a small stream right now, because it means that you come in and you have a chat with us. And you have questions or comments and stuff like that. We usually can see you and answer you directly. Also, I talk a lot, so, you know, if you need any sort of background ASMR stuff, we're good for that, because I can chat for very long periods of times. You know, especially when I'm crocheting, because in that case it's kind of an automatic response. So I can kind of just do things and talk and move and stuff like that. But, like, if I'm gaming, sometimes I chat more about the game, or I might not talk a lot if I'm, like, really invested. Which, you know, is not necessarily a bad thing to have, but... Things flashing over there, so I do want to investigate and see what that is. So I'm worried about that, but I'll take care of that in a minute. But, you know, we talk about games, we talk about life, we talk about feelings, we talk about movies. Anything that comes to mind. And sometimes, honestly, just speaking for a while and focusing on something else that isn't life. Or at least isn't actively my life. it's nice. So I like hearing other people come to chat. I like other people showing up and saying hi. We don't have the most consistent schedule, but if you follow, then you can, know whenever I'm streaming, because it should give you notifications if you're following of when I stream, because we do have a little bit of a hectic stream schedule. Because it kind of, at least right now, until we have a little bit more of a, I don't have a very stable life schedule, so until I have a more stable life schedule, it's hard to tell, like, when I'm going to stream. I kind of just be like, okay, I got a few hours, let's turn on the recording camera, the way I run it right now. Which, yeah, we're going to work on that at some point. Kind of like the fact that I'm going to do shorts at some point, or I'm going to put thumbnails on my videos at some point, It's a thing for later. Lots of things that were kind of resolutions in the new year sort of vibes. Like, we'll get to that eventually. And we'll look more professional. I'm also kind of the opinion that I'm like, if I'm constantly waiting for it to be perfect, if I'm constantly waiting for it to... Again, that's something that kind of like social media I don't like about it, is that you always see the well-manufactured picture at the end of the day. You don't see like all the struggle and stuff that went into making it. Sometimes it's hard to compare and be like, struggle in the beginning when you don't know much, until you realize that, like, hey, everyone actually struggled in the beginning and knew nothing. And it's okay to be there. So that's what I'm kind of doing, because I'm like, am I doing this the most efficient way? No. Do I have any sort of, Come on. Do I have any sort of real plan or methodology or nearly all the stuff I need in order... Oops, I just dropped my yarn. Any sort of stuff I need to hypothetically be a great streamer / YouTuber? Kind of. I got the equipment, and I have some of the know-how. This is more a matter of motivation and figuring things out as I go. So, I'm not, like, some people walk in and they start a YouTube channel, like, with, all the thumbnails and the introductions and the, a clear purpose of what they're going to do with themselves. And I'm like, mine's kind of just like, why did we choose Cozy Gamers? Because we wanted to be able to just sit back in our sweatshirts and play some video games. We'll still do that. I've been crocheting a lot lately because I have a market, but this is also something I do that I like to do and talk and stuff like that. We will get back to gaming, because I understand there's a lot of people who watch us. Well, not a lot of people. The people who do watch us probably originally started watching us because we gamed. I mean, I'm keeping it relevant. When I crochet, I do talk about games a lot. I talk about a lot of pop media, to be honest. So that's why I like having another opinion in the room, to be like, okay, this is how I view it, with my particular lens, with my particular brain. How do you feel about this particular topic? That's how a meaningful discussion happens. Hear someone else's vibes, and even if they agree with yours or they disagree with yours, then at least you're learning a new perspective. Okay, and after I finish this row, I will be heading off to get lunch. I just want to get to a good stopping place for this particular thing. So, I'm just trying to get my my hellos, goodbyes, and stuff like that out of the way now, because I've been teased before by my dad, who's one of my viewers. He's like, you say that you're ready to log off, and then you stay on for another 45 minutes. I'm like, that's because I have a tendency to ramble. And so I'll start some thought, go off on some tangent, and then still be there in 20 minutes. So I'm not very good at conclusions and endings. I have so many stories I've written that have no ending because endings are hard. But that's what I'm saying kind of right now as I'm finishing up this row and getting ready to go take a lunch break. Because it's a little past lunchtime at this point. But I've appreciated everyone who's shown up today. Everyone who's joined the chat for the first time. It was great to meet all of you. It's great to chat. Had a good time with our new viewer here. INK2022. I have to wonder how some people came up with these usernames. Because every username always has a reasoning behind it. So thanks for coming. Thanks for chatting. Everyone else who popped in briefly. Or not. glad to hear / meet you. It's been a good time. I hope anyone else who's here and just lurking, we love the lurkers as well. I'm also a lurker myself whenever I watch stuff. So glad that you've been here and be able to enjoy this time with us. Hope that we're good in the background as whatever project you're working on. Hope that you've gotten some stuff done. Hope that we've been good background noise. And hope that maybe you found even something informative here that I've been talking about. But, you know. As for future, we probably won't be streaming really in the next 3 days because we have a 3D market that we have to worry about. So probably not going to be much streaming on that front for a little while. But when the week starts up, I'll try and get back into like streaming at least once a day, probably in the evenings because that's probably when I'm going to be less busy. But try and get my sister to join me for a couple of times. Maybe we'll even get something nice on the weekend. But anyway, so thanks everyone for being here. It's been a hope it's been cozy, hope it's been entertaining, or at the very least, not annoying. I've enjoyed what we've been able to chat and do here. So, thank you all, and I guess I'll see you in a little bit.